The man whipped around to the appraiser and demanded the result, then pressed him for the main character's true talent. Aldeheim Noah was the main kid in the spotlight, 5 years old, the oldest son of the family, and the appraiser declared his talent loud and clear, decoding nothing else. The Aldeheims are an ancient, magical aristocrat clan living on for generations. In every era, they've produced elite wizards and deadly sorceresses. Everyone leaned in, hungry for what Noah, the eldest son, would pull off, because it was obvious he was stamped for greatness. Aldeheim Hildigan, the family head, nearly choked when the appraiser flat out praised his son's talent, and then he demanded answers. Did his kid have no attack magic, and no elemental magic either? Then the man snapped his eyes to his eldest son, who blinked innocently and asked, "What happened?" Hildegun shot up to the main character and smacked him straight in the face, spitting that he was a disgrace to their family, leaving the boy reeling in shock. His father snapped, "How dare you stain our name like this?" And even with Noah's face still bruised, Noah tried to talk back, but the man cut him off fast, told him to shut up, then declared, "You're not my son." Then the man yanked the door open and stormed out, ignoring the appraiser as he shouted his name. The moment it slammed shut, the protagonist broke down, tears pouring, and started apologizing to everyone. After some time, Noah strode down the hallway and spotted the maid he'd come to talk to. Then the moment she recognized him, she turned her back and apologized again and again, drowning him in "I'm so sorry." From that day on, nobody would even look at the main character, straight up avoided him. And he's convinced it all started because his father ordered everyone to, but he pushed himself to be diligent for his father's sake, hoping they wouldn't turn cold on him. Yet nobody would even talk to him. So he slipped into the library, letting the pages steal his attention from the whole man. One day, while he was buried in a book, he hit a weird thought. How on earth did he know how to read writing this complex? It was like his own deciphering skills had to be the real secret. Then he started showing up in the library like clockwork every single time. He'd pace in his mind, hunting for today's pick, because he'd already devoured every book in that room. After a bit, he slipped outside and sat by the house. And then right nearby, he spotted this strange slab. Curiosity hit like lightning. So he crawled closer, and there it was, weird inscriptions in a language he couldn't read. He stormed back to the library and started scribbling every symbol he'd seen onto paper. But they looked brutally complicated, and he had no clue what any of it meant. Then he slid back to the slab, spotted a translation hinting that the backside needed to be rearranged, and once he stared at it, he found even more text there waiting to be deciphered. 1 month later, he cracked every symbol on the slab, then followed the instructions to the letter, lining up the books on the shelf exactly as written. Right away, the bookshelf slid aside like it had been waiting for this moment, uncovering a hidden passage to a secret room, and when he spotted a staircase down there, shock hit him hard, so he immediately decided to go take a look. As he stormed down the stairs, he scanned every corner, and then one of the lanterns burst to life. All by itself was that weird glowing magic stone the book had warned him about. When he finally hit the end, a door loomed right in front of him, stamped with symbols from the slab's strange language. But now the words made sense, revealing a hidden library, and he shoved the door open. The moment he stepped into the room, towering shelves packed with books hit him like a wave, and the sheer space of the place and what it hid made his face flush bright red as a stunned, admiring gasp burst out of him. He sprinted between the shelves, convinced this underground maze was somehow bright down here. And as he ran, he realized he hadn't read a single one of these books. They looked ancient. Pacing the whole edge of the room, he spotted it right there, apart from everything on the table. A book covered in strange symbols from the same language as the rest, and he closed the distance fast. On the cover, it bragged that this book held the basics of ancient magic. So when he cracked it open, his stomach flipped because it felt wildly strange. He dove into the manga, and almost instantly he went, "Wait, what is all this?" Because the whole thing was so tangled that it looked like he'd be stuck reading for ages. He figured he had plenty of time. Then his father's words hit him, that he wasn't his son anymore, and suddenly resentment crushed him as he trembled and broke into tears. He broke down in tears nonstop, convinced that deciphering was a gift his father had brushed off like it didn't matter. That gift of effortlessly reading symbols. In today's world, it's treated like worthless junk until you crack it, and then you realize it can rewrite the very structure of reality. Noah's stuck in a spell of symbols he doesn't realize yet, so he's clueless to what they really mean. His father leaned in and told him, "At 15, you'll leave this mansion." And the boy nodded like he already got it. Then the man dropped the real truth: he was the eldest son, but without magical talent, he'd never become the head. He told everyone today was his final day inside this mansion. Then he slammed the book onto the table and let a cape drop over his shoulders. Then he strode in, bid every service worker goodbye, and grinned as he thanked them for everything, but they brushed him off again, ignoring him like usual. And in that moment he realized he'd gotten used to it. Noah figured that even then, he'd never stop thanking his service, so he stared into why, and the answer hit him hard. He did it only because he wanted to. He remembered their voices warm, kind, and ready to help, and he realized he only needed what felt natural for any person to survive. After that, determination hardened across his face, and he realized he wanted to act the same way towards someone just like that. After a while, he burst out of the mansion and into the street. Then someone shouted his name, "Glenn." Glenn said he'd heard Noah finally got kicked out, and Noah greeted him right back. Aldheim Glenn, the family's second son, was 13 years old, and he slid up to the protagonist to claim the next head seat would be his. Glenn shot his hands up like he'd already won, bragging that unlike Noah, he can unleash attack magic. Then he grins because his element is pure fire. Every living thing carries magical power in its blood, but you can't cast a spell unless you've got the talent. So modern magic is only unlocked for the chosen ones. No matter how you tilt your whole world upside down here, the main character's fate won't budge. Noah even told him, "Sure, we've got different mothers, but we're brothers all the same." And that's why he's sure he's going to miss him. Glenn snapped at his words, declared he'd never miss him, and called him a disgrace to the family. Then basically bragged that it was a good thing he was finally leaving home. The second the words hit, he remembered his father's warning. Someone like him was a stain on the family. And right after that, he flashed a smile and asked Glenn, "Why are you grinning like that?" Glenn just shrugged and said he was thinking the exact same thing. And his brother just snapped that he's a complete idiot, so of course he gets under his skin every day, because the guy can't even use magic. Then he steps into the flames and begs the power in his magic ball to flare up. Glenn clenched that blazing fireball in his hands with pure grit, then declared, "This is only the first level of flame." Then the guy hurled the ball straight at the main character, and he lit up thinking his brother's magic was unreal until reality hit hard, and he let out a heavy, shaky breath. Right then and there, the main character unleashed his breeze skill and instantly blew his brother's fireball to ashes. Noah sat there, certain he'd devoured every ancient grimoire in the secret library, and he knew it all happened because of his own incredible power. It's ancient magic that lets you crack the old symbols, though they're wildly different from anything we use today. One symbol can mean a dozen things and unleash magic strong enough to shake reality, but cracking the truth behind ancient magic is brutally hard. Day after day, the protagonist kept cracking that grimoire's secrets, and after a brutal 10 years, those ancient symbols finally sunk into him so he could unleash magic without having to speak the spells out loud. Noah digs into the ancient grimoires left in their mansion, cracks their secrets with raw talent, and somehow, someway starts bending modern magic too. Glenn froze at what was in front of him, then erupted in screams, insisting it was all nonsense, that his magic was flawless, until the main character shot back that maybe, just maybe, fire magic was too dangerous for this place. His brother snapped at him to shut up, and Noah immediately nodded along, agreeing on the spot. Then Glenn went full fire and said Noah couldn't do a single bit of magic, so Noah should get out of the house before anyone ever sees him again. After that, the boy sprinted straight toward the house, and Noah couldn't shake the feeling that they'd never truly clicked. Still, leaving like this crushed him, but there was nothing else to do. It was time to go. Think about it. He spent his whole life locked in books, and now it's time to step out there and see with his own eyes what those pages promised. But first, he had to scramble for cash just to earn the chance to travel the world. No shortcuts, no backup plan. So he decided the smartest move was to become an adventurer. Then he fired off Skywalk, blasting himself up into the sky to keep his journey going. No clue how far this magic can take him yet, but for now he's heading straight for the guild. Up in the sky, he glanced back at his old home, wheeled around to face his father, and blurted out his thanks for everything he'd done. Then he shot into the clouds and flew off. At the same time, Glenn beamed, swung open his father's office door, and called out only for the man to snap, "What happened?" The boy grinned as he started bragging that the main character had finally escaped the mansion. But the man's face didn't budge. He snapped that everything was crystal clear to him. He told them some bigger things were coming and that just a few days from now, Princess Claudia, the kingdom of Razday's second princess, would arrive at their doorstep. Glenn needed to treat her with kindness. And Glenn shot back, "I've got it, I understand." After the boy slipped out of the office, the head of the family strode to the window and told his oldest son, straight to his face, not to hate him. He also said the Alzheim family didn't need anyone who lacked magic. And when he spoke that, the weight of the family's shame finally lifted, leaving him feeling pure relief. Right then, the protagonist burst into the shopping district, stared down at it like it was his last chance, and decided to take one final look before moving on. Noah strolled through the streets, soaking in every passerby and every detail around him, and he couldn't help but grin. Life here was absolutely buzzing. His father only brought him out once straight to a castle banquet, so he'd barely stepped beyond the mansion gates then. Right then, a shop assistant shouted from the shopping district and slid a sandwich into his hand. The protagonist weighed every word, then finally asked, half afraid for a single one, and the seller grinned back that it was all a deal, promising him 1 silver coin. Noah stepped in and asked if he could pay for the gold, and the guy immediately backpedaled, apologized for being rude, and grilled him on whether he was really rich. Then Noah just shrugged and said that it was literally all he had. The shopkeeper nodded like he got the whole story, then shoved 99 silver coins and a sandwich into Noah's hands. Noah grinned, took the goods, and shot back a big thank you. Then the cheerful salesman blurted out that he'd already guessed the main character was one of Aldeheim's sons who'd slipped away from home, and the guy nodded like, "Yep, it all makes sense," while panic screamed that he had to vanish fast. After a while, he decided to hunt down the guild, strode up to a nearby cart, and asked where they were headed, only for the driver to say, "We're going to level up." Then leaned back and asked, "So you really want in?" He weighed every word in his head. This land was in the east, and then he made his move, handing the man the coins right after, jumping into the cart as it rolled, still buzzing because he'd always dreamed of riding it. 3 men were already sitting inside the carriage. Noah stepped in with a warm greeting, apologized for bothering them, and they waved it off with a shrug, saying everything was fine. Then the carriage rolled on. One of the men pressed him, asking why the main character was in Liebelup, and he snapped back that he needed the Adventurers Guild because he had to earn cash fast. Noah asked, and the young man shot back that he'd got it all figured out. Everything was finally running smoothly. Then Noah hit him with the truth. It hadn't always been that way, because people had to begin by watering the dried-out land with fertilizer. The stranger told him he was sharp and well-informed, then leaned in and admitted that this place used to be broke, though a lot of time has passed since then. Most folks don't even know the city's past. Edgar stood there and said his name like it mattered, then blasted everyone as traitors, and when another man offered to tell him about his youth, Noah nodded and agreed. The main character thought that stories from the first mouth you can't read, those aren't the kind you learn from books. You have to study them up close to truly get the essence of things. Noah grinned, relieved he was finally riding in the cart. Then bam! The driver slammed the brakes and everyone lurched hard to the side. The horse jerked up on its hind legs and screamed a loud neigh, and the driver's calm shattered. Edgar snapped, "What's happening?" They all leaned out of the cart and stared straight ahead, right in their path. Sat another cart, and not a single living soul was inside. Right then, they spotted a giant monster that let out a deafening scream, and Edgar shot a question, "Is it a demon?" before he pointed the blame. It attacked another carriage. Someone else insisted it was a wind tiger, an A-class monster, but they swore D and E-class creatures should have been here instead, and the shock hit hard. Then they caught sight of 2 people battling the monster, and Edgar snapped that they'd been fighting it already. He felt terrible for everyone trapped in that cart, but there was no time to waste. They had to get out fast. Everyone held their breath because the cart wouldn't budge. Edgar snapped out a curse and demanded they let them through, warning that if they started throwing punches, more corpses would pile up. Right then, the main character declared he'd help these people, and one of the men snapped, "What are you even talking about? Stop fooling around. If you do this, you'll throw your life away." Noah thanked them for worrying about him, but he couldn't do anything else. Then he leapt out of the cart, stunned that anyone had ever helped him, because the feeling was so intense words just couldn't touch it. At that instant, the main character snapped into a landing skill, spun toward the men, and told them to go on. Then he thanked them for their wild stories as the carriage finally rolled forward. And just moments later, Noah had already closed in on the monster so massive that its raw power whipped up brutal winds, tearing through anything caught in its path. The protagonist replayed what the book taught him. The wind tiger wrecks people in the sky, but if you want to kill its moves, you keep it grounded. At that exact moment, the armored knight spotted Noah, hovering in midair, and snapped his gaze toward the monster, shouting that he was here and it should go after him. Because Noah knew the first move had to be stealing the tiger's attention onto himself. Wind's tiger never turns down an airfight invitation, and the moment his trick pays off, he's like, yes, those people are safe for now. At that exact moment, the monster slammed in, and the protagonist snapped a curse through his teeth. Sure, he'd never tried ancient attack magic in a real fight, but now there was no other way. Right in the middle of his thoughts, a knight finally barreled into the fight, shouting demands, and then hurled his sword straight at him. Right then, the wind tiger got thrown off by that hit, and the knight snapped and cursed on the spot, so the protagonist knew this was his opening, and he shot his hand forward to strike. After his attack, the wind tiger got ripped to pieces, and the knight and the girl were left staring in shock while the girl lit up, saying that purple fire attack was pure magic. Noah finally let out a heavy breath and admitted, and it felt good that he'd pulled it off after all. Then the guy slumped onto the ground like all his strength had vanished, and the girl turned to him and thanked him for keeping them safe. The protagonist rose to his feet, shot off an apology for running so late, and promised he'd leave until the girl fixed him with a determined glare and demanded he stop. She told him she wanted to thank him for saving them, but they were rushing to the Aldeheim estate, so she asked right then if he'd come with them. The protagonist clocked what was happening. These people were headed straight for his family, and when it hit, he blurted that he was in a hurry, couldn't make it, and the only thanks he could offer was one thing: their safety. Then the girl begged him, "At least tell me your name." And the guy spun around with a grin, "Noah." The girl's cheeks flared red as she took in the news, and she blurted his name again and again. Then the knight cut in, saying the horse was safe and they had to move right now. She spun back to the man and called it good news. And at that exact moment, Noah shot off and flew away. While the girl got lost in the night in their stripes, the main character vanished like a ghost. She spun around and shouted his name, but the air stayed empty. No one answered. The girl said that Mr. Noah looked like an amazing wizard, and as she watched him, it hit her that his face felt weirdly familiar. Right then, the main character shot off through the air for a solid distance, then came crashing down, and the second he landed, he couldn't believe it for the first time. Someone actually thanked him. He even wrestled with the fact that his deciphering talent felt like a total failure, but somehow he turned it into something slightly more useful, and that alone made him feel damn proud of himself. After a stretch through the night, the girl finally rolled up to the family estate, and the head of the household hurried to thank them for making the long trip to his home. Then the girl returned the gratitude right back for inviting them in. Turns out, this girl was the second princess of the kingdom of Rosda Claudia, and at that exact moment, Glenn stared in shock, because she was so unbelievably cute and stunning. He couldn't stop thinking she should be his. Right then, the father was plotting it all. If his son married Claudia, their family's power would lock in for good, so he couldn't afford to let him down. The family's head said he was relieved they'd made it safely. Then the girl cut in, "Not exactly, if I'm being honest. A wind tiger attacked us." Right then, the knight cut in mid-conversation and snapped that none of this would have happened if the princess hadn't wanted to leave the castle, only for the girl to shrug and say she was bored out of her mind in there. And that was the whole truth. Then it hit her she couldn't keep acting like that, so she rushed to apologize to everyone. And right when a wizard nearby showed up, he stepped in and blasted the tiger with a single purple flame strike. Father couldn't stop thinking about that violet flame because it doesn't exist in modern magic at all. And when he spoke aloud, he flat out said he'd never heard of it, even though most legendary wizards usually know everyone. The girl leaned in and asked if he knew their savior, then praised him as polite, with dark, striking hair and a sharp, watchful look, and the wizard's name was Noah. After hearing that, the father snapped back. There's no way, because his son was so clueless, he couldn't possibly use magic at all. He boldly said he didn't know anyone like that. Then the girl leaned in and asked him, "So where's the eldest son of this family?" Claudia also dropped that Mr. Noah was at a reception in Razda Castle, yet the man snapped back, "No Noah in our family, our eldest is Glenn." Then the latter slid into the conversation and casually revealed, "By the way, I'm also a fire wizard," lighting his flame right on the spot. The girl didn't take it well. Those words made her snap, and she insisted, "Everything is already clear to me." She bowed to them and snapped that the marriage of convenience talk would be put on ice, and once she got back to the kingdom's capital, she'd dive deep into the Aldeheim family's business. Right then, the chief snapped. If word got out that the eldest son was thrown out, their family name would be stained forever. So he told the knight to swallow his pride and forgive the princess for her rude behavior. He told the man, "I'm good." And then his mind snapped into focus. He had to track down his eldest son and bring him back before the princess. Father snapped his head toward Glenn and said he was stepping out for a bit. He had to handle things for himself. Glenn froze in shock and fired back, asking what the hell was going on with his marriage of convenience and that stunning wife. After a while, the protagonist finally reached Wajesti, the city of Lebelup, and he stopped dead in front of the Adventurers Guild, staring like his mind had just been blown. He pushed inside and told them, "Sorry, I didn't mean to bother you, but first I've got to register." Then right away, a girl's voice rang out from within, panicked and urgent. "Can someone please go to the volcano right now?" She also revealed that an S-class monster Fafnir has just been found there, and now Lady Serena is on the scene, convinced she can tame a raging fire dragon. The adventurers shot back, asking if it was this monster that was pushing the kingdom of Razde to the brink, and some were already yelling that they had to rush in while others demanded, "What good are we if we don't even know what we're fighting for?" One guy blurted that Serena was the guild's strongest fighter, and the room instantly erupted in arguments. "That's not a reason to give up on her," while Serena shot back that it was all on her, because she was the one who accepted the mission. He kept telling himself his life was falling apart, so maybe he was the one who had to march into that volcano and drag Lady Serena back. Then he said it straight out, "I'll go and bring her from there." The whole guild froze in shock. Then the girl leaned in and demanded to know his adventurer rank. He grinned and admitted he hadn't registered yet, and the room instantly went deathly silent. They shut him down, Colt turns out. They didn't trust him, and honestly, the protagonist had to admit he wasn't an adventurer yet, so their rejection of his words didn't shock anyone as people kept arguing about what was happening right now. Noah figured everyone was in pure panic because of Lady Serena. She was clearly the one person they couldn't afford to lose. If anything happened to her, the whole world would mourn, and when an S-class monster shows up, she won't get back up. She'll have to face it alone because he has to go in first, and he has to make it. The protagonist clenched his fist and swore the ancient magic had actually worked on the Wind Tiger, an A-class monster, and that same punch of power had to hit Fafnir's neck. Right after that, he unleashed his transition skill and bolted straight for La Balupa volcano, and when he arrived, a tired girl was already there, worn down and waiting. She gripped her sword tight, bracing to strike. The instant danger flared, and she couldn't stop asking how that dragon ever made it here in the first place. Right then, the monster tore its mouth open and blasted out a scream so loud it shook the air. She could feel it in her bones, like there was no way she could take down someone at that level. Then, just a few heartbeats later, the main character burst into view right in front of her and asked if she was Lady Serena. Her shock hit like lightning. Right then, the dragon blasted its flames forward, and at the last second, the protagonist snapped up a barrier that shielded them from the inferno. They were safe and sound. He grinned and said it wasn't for nothing that Fafnir was an S-class monster. Because it could shrug off absolute flames, he felt that massive magic surge, drove his spell harder, but the fire still wouldn't hit hard enough. Serena fired a question at him. "Who are you? And how did you end up here?" Noah straightened up and said, "My name's Noah, and I'm chasing my dream to become an adventurer." Her jaw dropped when she realized what he wanted, adventure, and right then the guy snapped that he'd go after the dragon first. He stormed straight for Fafnir, and she lunged in front of him, yelling that even an adventurer couldn't survive that monster. But he didn't even flinch or listen. Then he charged the dragon slam. It got flung a bit, sure, but it barely scratched the surface. He warned everyone that this monster still can't be killed, and the result was exactly what you'd expect, way less effective than the Wind Tiger. The girl snapped in disbelief and blurted, Are you really a monster? Nola flinched with hurt, saying he'd been so offended by that word, then pressed, "Wait, did you really say it?" Then Fafnir snapped at him, calling him a human, and demanded to know what kind of magic he wielded. First Serena, now him, and the dragon had only just clawed its way out of the seal. The protagonist stared at the dragon, frozen in shock, then blurted out, "Wait, is this really you talking to me?" Fafnir let out a low chuckle and said it was fascinating. He never expected anyone could actually get through to him. The protagonist blurted that he was just as shocked as the other guy, then begged forgiveness for how suddenly he attacked, only to insist they weren't enemies at all. Still, the dragon didn't buy a word of it. Fafnir shot him a sharp question about whether the man's words could be trusted. Then Fafnir declared they'd come to lay a brand new seal on him. The protagonist snapped that everything was falling apart, then revealed the girl who went first was here to wipe out the fire dragon, and he'd already been tailing her. Noah said with full seriousness that he'd promised not to hurt him again, and the dragon leaned in, demanding to know if he was telling the truth. Right then, Serena cut in mid-conversation and demanded, "So you're seriously talking to a dragon right now?" She told them she couldn't understand a word, then shot back, "Is this the language of monsters?" And the hero suddenly realized, without even meaning to, that he'd slipped into Fafnir's tongue. Right then, he blurted out that they were speaking an ancient language. Noah told Fafnir that in old books, he'd found a twist: other dragon species could only speak the ancient tongue. Fafnir pressed him for details again, and then confessed he'd been too wild and rowdy, which is exactly why he'd been locked away for ages. The dragon leaned in and said, "Good, your kind heart and your gift for talking are exactly what you need." Then casually added, "And yeah, I'm a herbivore." After that, Noah spun towards Serena and told her everything was okay. Now this dragon wasn't some evil monster at all. Serena blinked in disbelief and asked him again, "Are you serious or are you joking?" She told him straight up, even if he meant no harm, the kingdom of Razde would never let a monster like that run loose, and he nodded like, "Yeah, fair." Then he whipped around to the dragon and warned, "If you stay here, more people will come to seal you up." And right there, he offered him a contract to be his minion. Fafnir pushed the minion for answers about his contract again, then made it crystal clear this deal wasn't for them to guess. It was going to be forged between him and a human. The dragon clocked that the deal meant real protection, and right after that, it pushed the protagonist to sign on. Fafnir snapped that turning him into a minion required advanced lunar magic, then demanded, "Is there anything terrifying about it?" And the protagonist shot back, "Everything's fine." Right after that, a massive seal erupted on the ground. A surge of raw energy blasted out of her, and Serena froze. Then she blurted, "Wait, what's happening?" When the smoke finally rolled away, she demanded to know what he did. Then he smiled and admitted he'd forged a minion contract with the dragon. The boy also told the girl she could talk to him now, so she gasped, shocked, and asked what he meant. And right then Fafnir snapped in, "It's incredible." His towering presence shrank to nothing, and with a grin, he said the contract was settled way too easily. Then he leaned in and warned that Noah was still a monster. Serena leaned in and asked if that tiny dragon was Fafnir, and the boy shot back that the minion contract had shrunk him down to this size. Then he spun to the dragon and introduced himself. And after that, everyone else traded names too. The main character snapped that the dragon had transformed so hard that even Fafnir couldn't be recognized in the city anymore. Then Fafnir shot back that soon people would finally stop locking him away. And the girl, stunned, blurted, "Wait, you're really talking?" Noah grinned and said, "It was awesome." He really had friends. Fafnir cackled and joked that the henchman who counts as a friend is clearly a riot, but the girl still refused to believe any of it. After what felt like forever, they finally swept back into the guild, and the girl administrator practically burst with relief, thanking the heavens the lady was still alive. Then she rushed in to apologize, insisting this whole nightmare was her fault, only for the lady to tell her not to worry, because somehow it all worked out in the end. Right then, the main character slipped in behind the crowd. The dragon perched on his shoulder, watching every move like a hawk, then flashing a sweet, dangerous smile. A few moments later, Noah and Serena burst outside. Serena told him she'd already reported to the guild that she hadn't spotted any dragon, and Noah nodded like that was perfect, then thanked her. She leaned in and asked where he planned to sleep tonight, and the protagonist just shrugged. He hadn't picked a place yet. With his pockets basically empty, he figured he might as well crash under the open sky and call it a night. Serena replayed his words in her head. Then with shaky courage, she asked if he wouldn't mind coming to her place only for the guy to question her about it all over again. The moment he heard it, her cheeks flared red. She blurted that she didn't mean it like that at all. She just wanted to thank him for helping. And the truth was, she had an empty room at home. The protagonist leaned in and asked if she was truly sure, and she snapped back that she was then promised to feed him too because she had the kitchen skills to back it up. After a while, they finally landed at Serena's place, and the protagonist dug into the food she'd cooked. He said it was absolutely delicious, and even Fafnir backed him up. The girl told them to stop holding back and pile up plates as high as they wanted, and when she handed him even more, he nodded, said he finally understood everything, and thanked her with a grin. Serena spun back to the stove and admitted she was still in shock. He popped up in front of her out of nowhere, then blew the dragon away like it was nothing. Noah shot back that he'd been using ancient magic, and the girl burst out laughing like it was nothing. Noah admitted it hurt. Serena leaned in and asked if he truly wanted to be an adventurer, then told him to swing by the guild tomorrow morning and register, because as the eldest, she'd spill every secret to him. She blurted out her thanks and called her Lady Serena, and Serena immediately waved it off, telling him to just use her name, no more titles, please. The very next day, the two of them stormed into the guild, and the protagonist was handed a form told he had to fill in every required field first, so he just nodded and agreed. And that girl administrator leaned in and demanded to know if that tiny dragon was truly his assistant. Fafnir perched in silence on his shoulder, and right then the protagonist shot him a good-natured look, then turned and slid the collar into his hands. He told them it was a collar stamped with a minion contract mark, so people in the city wouldn't mistake him for some wild monster. The dragon blurted that he looked great, then bam, the collar was already snug on his neck, and Serena chirped, "Yeah, that suits you perfectly." The hero leaned in and confessed he'd carved a rune of ductility into it, so it wouldn't snap when Fafnir finally tore back into its true form. Then, after a while, the administrator stormed back, apologized for making them wait, and brought the moment back to life. The girl jabbed at the door and told him, point blank, that he had to step into that room right now for his talent assessment. The dragon snapped him a question, and when his magic suddenly turned messy, he just admitted the truth. Those talent assessments dredged up awful memories. But they had no other choice, so they had to head there. The main character stepped into the room and froze. There was a man with glasses waiting, claiming he was an appraiser named Carl. After they exchanged introductions, the two of them jumped straight into business. A beam of light flared on the table right in front of the man, and Noah watched every move like it could break the world, while Carl leaned in and asked if deciphering was truly his gift. The man blurted that he couldn't believe it either. He had a wildly rare gift, and the protagonist froze, stunned, then demanded he explain it again. Carl said that after 10 years working here, this was the first time someone with real talent for decoding showed up. But turns out he wasn't cut out for adventuring. So Carl stepped in and promised to land him a different job. The main character thanked him, waved it off, and said he didn't need it at all. Then the man warned him that being an adventurer means living on the edge, so he had better stay careful. After a while, they burst out of the room, and Noah's shoulders finally dropped relief. Hit him hard when they didn't brand his talent as talentless. He even told Carl, "You're a good man." And the dragon leaned in, insisting, "Your gift can't be ignored." After that, he headed to the task board with Serena, and she told him straight up that as an F rank, he'd better start by grabbing requests. He nodded and said he got it. They picked a quest and pinned their mission on it, head to the eastern forest, and snag 10 medicinal herbs. No tricks. It's a rank F job, and if they pull it off, they walk away with 4 silver coins. Fafnir demanded, "How much food can we buy with this reward?" And the protagonist shot back, 4 sandwiches. Serena grinned and said, "That's how everyone start a run straight to the eastern forest." After a while, they finally slipped into the right spot, only for the dragon to warn them that hunting one specific plant in a forest this huge would take serious grit. The main character grinned and said he wouldn't need long, then snapped into action with his material detection skill. He said the spell lets him pinpoint where any material is instantly, and the dragon snapped that he was at it again, doing something that's just plain unthinkable. The protagonist snapped back that it wasn't him who crossed the impossible line. This ancient magic's creator did that insane leap, and Fanfor fired back that Noah was just as wild, because he could use it too right then. They spotted the herb. They sprinted back to the guild, and when Serena and the administrator saw he'd hauled in a whole basket of medicinal herbs, their jaws dropped in shock. He told her he'd gathered more than just medicinal herbs. Every useful thing he'd stumbled on. Serena nodded like she already knew it wouldn't be surprising. Then, with the herbs in hand, they marched straight to Carl the appraiser. He stared in disbelief, shocked that he couldn't believe how much they'd gathered and how fast they'd done it. With a magnifying glass in hand, he leaned in and studied the plant up close and declared that even the rarest panacea and magic herbs were still in perfect condition. Carl cheered that the protagonist crushed the first quest, and the protagonist immediately thanked him for the praise. The man couldn't even wrap his head around how someone with real deciphering talent could pull off a result like this, because right here, even the evaluator's own eyes were seeing nothing. The protagonist admitted he was still a total newbie, and Carl joked that most fresh adventurers only hunt medicinal herbs for half a day. Then he leaned in and asked if the next quest was already decided. Noah shut that down with a flat no, and the man leaned in, saying he had one quest to hand over. Then Noah agreed at once, happy to take it. He stared at the paper and read his fate head to the eastern forest to grab a single magic flower rank B to qualify. And if he succeeded, he'd walk away with 5 platinum coins. Carl told Noah that magic flowers are the key ingredient to the elixir of life. And Noah blurted if it was really him, supposedly the one who cures every disease. Then the man nodded, confirming it. The protagonist started to doubt himself because the rank felt way too high. Then he said that, from what he knew, he could only handle up to E rank. And Carl shot back that he shouldn't stress at all, because if he failed, Carl would cover the compensation. He told everyone his daughter was being crushed by some unknown illness, and you could practically see the panic clawing at him. He told me he'd drained every doctor's advice and even tried leveling up, but nothing worked. So the only shot to heal her was to tap the elixir of life. The man boasted that he'd already snagged the panacea holy water in one hand and mermaid tears in the other. But every search for the magic flower collapsed into failure. This rare plant used to show up a few times each year, yet for the last couple of years, nobody has even spotted a single one. And now Mr. Noah has proven he can pull off results like that, so maybe he's the guy who'll finally find it. Carl said he was the one who'd paid for this quest, then begged the main character not to turn him down. Luckily, the hero nodded like he fully understood and agreed to jump into the search. The man poured out his gratitude like it was never ending. And right then the dragon leaned in and asked, wouldn't it be way easier to cure that disease with ancient magic? She explained that these illnesses don't come from magic at all. They're tied to medicine, but somehow she's still managing to handle it. The guy swung around to Carl and said he'd start by checking on his daughter's condition. And Carl just nodded once he was done with work for the day. They'd head to his place right as the guild doors blasted open. An unknown guy barreled up to Carl, whispering that something terrible had gone down. Lady Carla was in trouble, and the fear in his eyes was so intense it felt like it might swallow him whole. After a while, they finally reached Carl's house, and Carl barked his wife's name, Sarah, so suddenly she froze, shuddering in shock. They rushed to their daughter's bed, and the man demanded to know what was wrong with her. Sarah snapped that Carla had suddenly blacked out and hadn't woken up since, and the doctor pushed for the cause, saying her body looked completely fine. Right then, the main character stared at the girl like she was a clue, and the truth suddenly hit him. He blurted, "Let me talk." Right then, the doctor snapped at him, asking what he thought he was doing. An emergency was exploding, and he couldn't afford to get in the way. So the main character didn't listen when he cut him off. He snapped that this girl had a syndrome that hardened her magical meridians. This sickness wrecks the very channels where magic energy is supposed to flow. And when people heard that, the shock hit everyone all at once. The protagonist swore that it keeps flowing through every living body, no matter if they can use it or not. Then he shot his hands out and tried the skill on the girl. He said right now, only a trickle of energy was coursing through their daughter's body. And this illness wasn't medical. It was magic, plain and simple. So of course, nobody knew what caused it. Carl demanded, "Can you cure her?" And the protagonist shot back that he was pouring every ounce of his power just to ease her pain right now. But the elixir's power still had to be used to truly heal her. Noah blurted that he had to sprint into the forest to find the magic flower. But the moment Serena saw the sky dimming, she warned it was getting too dangerous to go solo, so she grabbed his hand and went with him. Carl snapped that he didn't have any magical search tools, and the protagonist shot the question back at him. Then the girl stepped in and explained that magical search tools can be used for high-stakes, high-complexity quests. She also admitted nobody knew how long it would take to win the manager's approval. And Noah snapped, this couldn't wait. Oh, tools. Fine, he'd make it happen, because they were going to find the magic flower. At that moment, Carl dipped his head, thanked him and Lady Serena, and Sarah leaned in to warn them to be careful. Then the main character and the girl dashed outside, and he snapped his hand into a spatial transition to the forest right as he told her, hold on tighter. She nodded and the world flipped, whisking them away in an instant. To track the magic flower, you've got to race through the forest with the material detector blazing. And he asked if she'd be okay with running. She didn't hesitate and agreed. Right after that, the two of them tore through the forest at full speed because the magical flower was supposed to bloom in a magic place, just like its name promised. The dragon told me this place has been buzzing with fairies for centuries, yet right now he can't spot a single one. Serena mused that maybe they'd relocated somewhere new, but the dragon shot it down. Fairies loved their solitude, so they couldn't possibly abandon their cozy forest. Fafnir said, think about it, if fairies are the ones growing those flowers, and they suddenly stop, then someone must have snatched the fairies away. Right then, the girl blurted that she could feel something in the air, and the dragon shot back that her sensitivity was outstanding. Then the entire company went stone still, right as the dragon shot off the main character's shoulder, and the girl yanked out her sword and declared the enemy was closing in. Right then, a monstrous thing lunged out of the side of the world piranha fish head and a trident in its grip, and the girl snapped her sword up to block the strike at once. Serena ripped into the monster's torso with her sword, and the upper half blasted clean off. Then she snapped her gaze to Fafnir. The dragon promised, I'll fix this right now, and then blasted the monster with a scorching roar, while the protagonist stared in stunned disbelief at how perfectly they moved together. He praised them to the skies, bragging about their flawless teamwork, only for him to miss the monster hiding right there, waiting to strike. Serena let out a heavy sigh and admitted, yeah, Noah really is an adventurer, brand new. And Fafnir nodded right along, saying there's a massive gap between talent and real battle experience. Serena leaned in and asked how the search for the flower was going, and the protagonist muttered that the answers felt thin and weak. After a while, they finally stumbled into a pond, and the girl squinted like it had to be a lake. Noah lifted his hand and pointed straight at it. The main character said the magic flower's power comes straight from the very bottom of this lake, and the girl, frozen in shock, demanded, is that for real? She even demanded, why did it grow here? And he snapped back that magical flowers weren't aquatic plants, then stared at it like he already knew the magic energy must be concentrated right there. Serena admitted they had no choice. She hated swimming, but what else were they supposed to do? She told him, I'll check it myself. And before she could even react, he shot into the sky, so the girl scrambled to stop him. Then Noah fired off his air cover skill, whoosh, and it shoved their bodies inside a barrier with the dragon. And after that, him and his assistant just dropped straight into the water. The girl stared them down and declared, clear as day, she got the main character figured out, and the last one was already sinking to the bottom of the lake. A few beats later, he stood before a mysterious object, and the dragon demanded answers, so he blurted that it was a spatial rift, an ancient magic buried in legend. He basically said it lets you slip anywhere it points and then return just as freely. Fafnir swore he caught the faintest whisper of fairy magic, and the protagonist insisted the magic flower's power was answering him from right inside his own blood. The dragon snapped that only fairies couldn't pull off magic like that, and then he made it crystal clear. They didn't just wander off on their own, someone snatched them away. The protagonist locked onto his goal with zero hesitation. Then he went to test the gap, only to find it sliding right toward his touch. Noah stared at the place and said, there's a barrier here, and the dragon shot back, then I'll smash it to pieces. Right after that, Fafnir veered a bit to the side, launched his fire, and when the protagonist said it didn't work, the dragon snapped back. It wasn't about him, it was all about the water, because they were right here. Noah begged for just 1 minute, then swore he'd handle it himself. Yet the moment the other guy stared him down, magic energy flared on his palms. The protagonist thought his barrier was finally solid then. 1 heartbeat later, he smashed right through it. The dragon called him by name, teased him with a surprise shot at real combat experience, and demanded he track down where the monster was hiding right now. The main character stared off for a beat, focused hard, and then snapped, "I get it now," because the monster was definitely right behind him. When they spun around together, shock hit them hard. Right in front of them loomed a massive sea serpent. That snake stretched out like a living rope, and the protagonist blurted, "Why are you in this freshwater lake when you belong out in the sea?" The monster bragged, "I slept like a dream, so calm, so perfect," then leaned in and demanded, "So what did you forget under the water at night?" The protagonist finally clocked it. The snake didn't just move like a monster, it talked like one too. He blurted out that he'd run into another talking monster, and the snake warned him that if he didn't handle the intruder, the spirit of darkness would be furious. Noah's mind raced over the spirit of darkness, so he blurted out who it was, only for the monster to admit it had no clue and warn him not to tick it off, because that thing vanished from nowhere and yanked him straight out of the sea. Nella thanked him for telling them, and the monster froze in shock. "Can a person really talk to me?" And Nella nodded, saying, "And he did, once that's what deciphering is." The protagonist stared down the monster with cold determination and told Tom he was trying to dodge any unnecessary fights, so could Tom just let him pass. The snake asked if he was really pleading to be let through, then struck back by refusing him and saying he'd rather eat him right here. Not later, Fafnir just smirked and said, "Apparently the snake had a bloodthirsty streak. Nothing like him." Then the protagonist snapped on the skywalk skill, shot upward into the clouds, and escaped the snake's deadly strangling grip. Right then, the dragon leapt off his shoulder, practically ordering him to hunt down the flower while it promised to handle that enemy itself. The main character tried to argue, and Fafnir cut him off, asking if he really wanted to save the girl, then warning him to move fast, because her body wouldn't hold out much longer. After that, the guy shot him a grateful nod. Then he built a whole new barrier around the dragon, letting it breathe easy while it fought beneath the waves. The protagonist announced that Fafnir was now flying inside the air shroud, and Fafnir told him to trust in his lead. Then they split up. At that exact moment, the serpent yanked open its jaws and snarled that Noah would never pass. Then it lunged like it was about to swallow him whole, until the dragon blasted fire into the sky and ordered it to back off. The main character told everyone, "I'll leave the rest to the dragon," and somehow the magic flower had to be hiding right behind that spatial gap. He admitted he had no idea where this was headed, but he promised he'd grab the magic flower for sure. Then he dove straight into that gap. Moments later, he started spinning in midair, weird patterns crawling around him. Then he slammed back down onto the ground. The main character shot to his feet, scanned the area, and demanded, "Is it really around here?" as the bright sun blazed overhead. He stared up at the sky like it was revealing a secret, then blurted that it was already daylight and wondered if he'd been yanked through space so hard that the time zone snapped to a whole new day. After that, the main character knew something was off, because even the space around them was forged through magic. And then, out of nowhere, he heard crying nearby. The stranger sobbed hard and confessed that they'd all been caught. Then her body showed scraped bruises while huge tears streamed down her face. She blurted out that she had no idea what to do, and the protagonist stared at her like, "Wait," she looked hurt. Then he fired his healing skill at her boom. She froze in shock, and he rushed to apologize for scaring her, before saying he was only using healing magic. That stranger's cheeks flared as she blurted out her gratitude, and then the main character grinned. "I'm Noah. I'm just getting started as an adventurer." "Turns out she was a fairy," he blurted. "So you're really one?" And she just smiled and said, "Yeah," then flipped it on him. "Now tell me, are you really human?" He shot back a confident yes, then dropped onto a stump and admitted with real pride that his gift was figuring mysteries out, deciphering things no one else could. The fairy admitted she finally understood why he could talk to her, even though he was human. And the guy shot back that he thought that was exactly the reason. Then she leaned in and told him the fairies originally lived in the forest of Level Up. Then a wicked darkness spirit burst in, snatched them up, and tossed them into this room where they clawed at every chance to escape, but nothing worked. Everyone but her is locked up in that giant tree prison. And Noah can't hold back. He demands to know why the spirit of darkness trapped them, what he plans to do with them, and the fairy just stares back, saying she has no clue, then fires right away, asking Noah why he's even here at all. He shot back that only a magic flower could cure the sick girl, and the fairy grinned because magic flowers really did grow right here. She perched right on his head, wore a serious face, and warned him there were big problems. Then they hurried to the tree and spotted a fairy cage hanging from the branches. The main character stared at that picture and snapped, "This is horrible." Then he bolted toward them, but a fairy caught his path and warned, "If you go any farther, you'll get attacked." Right after that, a golem guard stepped out before them, and the fairy hissed that he watches over this place while the spirit of darkness is gone. The main character said it felt like he had to rescue the fairies and gather the magic flowers. But before any of that, he had to beat him. Noah leaned in and told her, "Don't be scared, I'll free your friends for sure." And right then, she stared at him, hanging on every word. The protagonist told her to hide somewhere safe right now, and she stuttered, nodded along, then hurriedly thanked him and begged him to stay careful. Then the guy spun toward his enemy and figured he'd only win by rewriting the ancient symbols etched into his chest. But before he could cast that power, he had to hurt him bad and lock him down. Just as he was plotting how to take down the enemy, they came charging, smashing right through the magic flower as they attacked him. Then the golem lunged to smash him, but he snapped his arm up until the main character fired off his skill, and the sword shot into the air like a strike meant to end it. He smirked to himself because that ancient protection symbol etched on his robe wasn't put there for nothing. Golem's attack power wasn't some joke. It was dead serious, and taking another hit like that would be a terrible idea. Then the main character slammed the trajectory change skill and swooped around his enemy in a sharp triangle loop. He slammed magic seals into every corner, then lurked behind one and unleashed the absolute flame skill, watching a purple weapon blast into existence. But after a few seconds, when the flame's effect finally died down, the golem was still standing there like it hadn't been touched at all, so he had to wonder, did the absolute flame even work? Then he gritted his teeth and fired off his skill. Magic shot of power so vicious it was meant to tear into his enemy. Right then, a fairy peeked at him from behind a tree, watching everything. After the smoke finally thinned out, the golem was already back in action, arm cocked, swinging in to smash the protagonist, and that realization hit hard. He couldn't dodge the hit when the enemy's fist slammed into him. He shot across the ground like a cannonball, and then it clicked. This golem was forged from mithril. He body blasted straight into a massive boulder with his own body, and had tiny cracks spidered out from the impact. Then he remembered that mithril was an ore that shrugs off magic. That spell can pierce it, but even the ancients can't crack this. So someone forged the best mithril possible here, and this giant won't go down to magic. Then the golem surged right back on top of the protagonist, raised its hand again, and windmilled it to smash him. Noah knew it was getting worse by the second, so he tried spatial transference, then horror hit as it failed, and that monster's fist was already crashing toward his head. In that instant, the punch detonated through him, his whole body blasted backward, and he screamed as he rocketed back across a huge distance. The protagonist lay sprawled on the ground, clothes shredded and bruises and scrapes crawling all over him, staring at the golem as his mind raced for a way to win. He stared at those symbols on his chest, wondering if he could wipe them out without turning into a mobile, and then he shut that idea down fast, because a solid barrier blocked the way. He came to the brutal realization that there was no escape until he crushed the golem, and he still couldn't save the fairies or hand carl the magic flower. He figured that if he really had fighting talent, he'd find a way to beat the enemy without magic. But all he's got is decryption and a stash of ancient spells. After that, Noah rose to his feet and realized that even if he couldn't use it on the golem, he had only one option left: he would have to beat it. Hanging on by a thread, he managed to carve out a magic seal, and the moment it snapped into place, he unleashed his absolute flame skill, then forged even more magic seals one after another. He decided to rewrite the formula to crank up the ancient magic's power, going all in, because this time it would smash through his own magical defenses. He believed that to pour magic into each ancient symbol deeper than ever, he had to unlock exactly what they meant. After that, Noah shot his hand out ahead, desperate panic locking his face in place, because he knew he had to plunge straight into the abyss itself. He swore he'd come back to Carl with the magic flower, no matter what, because he wasn't about to get beaten in a place like that. He was locked in with pure determination. When he finally chose to use his power, the space in her eyes seemed to double, and a tiny flame snapped out of her hand, yet he had no idea what was happening. Noah's head reeled, the world blurred, and it hit him. His magic was totally gone. Then he crumpled backward into a fall. Right then, the golem screamed at the top of its lungs, surged forward, and loomed over the main character with its entire body. The final one crumpled on the ground, blood pouring from his nose as his strength drained away. He couldn't even fight back. The fairy stared, totally stunned, at what was unfolding. And the guy's thoughts were screaming that everything was falling apart because his consciousness was slipping fast. Then out of nowhere, paper started to rustle and his heart jumped as he tried to figure out what it was. The sound hit him like flipping pages. When the main character snapped his eyes open, a massive book hovered right in front of him, and he sputtered, floating there, demanding where he was and where the guard column had vanished to. Then he snapped his eyes to the book and realized the writing was ancient and tangled. And right there, he dove in and learned about composite materials and mithril. Thanks to a stack of formulas, the magical protection got pushed to its absolute limit. And there was still one more twist. It all tied back to the caster and the spirit of darkness lurking behind it. Suddenly, the protagonist snapped back into himself, wondering why this book was packed with so much info about that golem. And he tore through the pages at breakneck speed just to learn everything he could. He couldn't shake the feeling that she was bursting with ancient magic, like some legendary power was coating her from head to toe. Then he shot his index and middle fingers into the air, and magic burst to life around them, because if all of this was truly real, he figured he could rewrite the formulas himself. Then he started sliding the same fingers over the book's pages, reading how mithril could be twisted from anti-magic into a metal that lets magic flow through, and as he read, a fog-like haze seemed to cover his eye. He'd barely finished reading when the book snapped shut out of nowhere, and the title staring back at him on the cover was The Book of Peace. Then, bit by bit, a voice slipped through his haze, shouting his name. Turns out it was a fairy, yanking at his clothes with her tiny hands, begging him to wake up because she was struggling badly. Confused, the main character tried to ask what was happening to him, but his mind still hadn't fully kicked back in, so the fairy snapped his name right away, panicked and worried. And just as he finally came to, he demanded, "Did I really just pass out?" When he peered ahead, the golem roared again louder than before, and the fairy snapped out a curse, saying this was the worst thing that could happen, while she kept yanking Noah along on her back. After a while, they shot off and vanished way past reach, and the girl grinned, "Now you can't catch us," while the main character snapped back that she saved him from the monster when he was knocked out. He grinned at her, thanked her, and promised everything was okay now while she crumpled with exhaustion, watching him step back, and then she burst into tears and screamed that he shouldn't do it. He figured he still had a sliver of magic left, because even the mightiest absolute flame couldn't touch him, and you could practically see the fierce, powerful thoughts churning inside his head. The fairy kept hammering it into him. Noah had to come to his senses, and they had to run, but the stubborn guy wouldn't budge. He'd already decided everything on his own. The protagonist rose and locked eyes with the golem. Then his mind spiraled was what the book showed him. Just a dream, and was the world's book itself nothing but a dream too. He swore he'd never read or heard of anything like it then. Right in that instant, he fired off the same air cover skill he'd used on the fairy, and she couldn't believe what he was doing. The girl shot him a question, but he didn't even answer. His mind was locked on one thing: would her power truly make his magic work on the golem? He shut his eyes and shook his head. No way, he couldn't do that, because changing the very foundation of the world like it's nothing, that was impossible. After that, he thrust his hand forward and clung to one last hope, the Book of Peace. He begged for everything to be okay, even if his magic resistance got knocked down just a little. Then, right after spitting out his words, he drove a punch straight for the golem's chest. Eyes locked on every move, sure that he'd only need to nick the ancient symbol there, and everything would click. But everything turned upside down from what he'd imagined then. The monster in front of him split apart, and with his strike, a massive hole tore open straight through the center of its chest, leaving the guy utterly stunned. The fairy, watching it all, break into a huge grin and blurts out, "This is unbelievable." And the main character can't even process it, because the changes in the book are suddenly happening in the real world, right in front of his eyes. Then he dropped to one knee on the ground, stunned that the guardian golem was totally down, and stared at what was left of the enemy, thinking about how much precious mithril he'd just uncovered. The main character stared at that power and wondered where it even came from. In the world's book, then he snapped and said, "Forget it, this isn't the time to ponder." He decided to stash every last piece of the golem's remains in his inventory for now, then thrust his hand out, using his skill to rip the scraps straight into his storage. With a hard, determined look, the protagonist declared he'd finally cracked it, then snapped his gaze straight to the cage holding the fairies. A breath later, he rushed up and hauled her down from the tree to the ground, then ripped her apart with his bare hands so the fairies could burst free and fly out. And they stared at him with pure distrust, because to them, he was a total stranger. Once the fairies finally slipped out of the cage, a girl shot up after them and breathed, "I'm so relieved you're all safe." Then their faces lit up, smiles spread, and they erupted in joy over being rescued. Then the girl whipped around to face the main character, tears blazing in her eyes, and she said his name, telling him, through a shaking voice, that she truly thanked him with all her heart. One of the fairies leaned in and asked her, "Is he really a man?" And the girl shot back, "Don't panic. Mr. Noah is unbelievably good." Right then, the main character stared at the tree trunk, and a brand new spatial rift had ripped open beside it, huge and terrifying. He leaned in and watched like a hawk, then a grin hit him. Now he could finally get out of this place, even though his whole face and clothes were caked in dirt. He snapped back to his original goal and realized all he had to do was grab the magic flowers. Then he crumpled to the ground and went searching. Right there. His face burned with total focus as he scanned every blade of grass for his target, and even the fairies leaned in, watching his every move. The main character whipped his head toward the flowers and froze when he saw the one he picked was smashed. He spit out a curse, then sprinted to the next bloom, only to realize every single flower around him was broken. With one of the flowers clenched in his fist, he stared at it and groaned. This whole golem battle dragged on way too long, and now he was sure he couldn't brew the elixir. Despair hit the protagonist's face as he inspected one flower after another, and every single one was shattered. Not a single bloom left whole. He blurted out that without the flower he couldn't save Carla, then snapped, "So why the hell did I even come here?" Right after his strength crumpled, he dropped to his knees and pressed his palms into the ground. The same fairy he already knew wore a sad face as she called his name, and out in the clearing the other fairies watched everything unfold. After a while, night crashed in and then the stars blazed overhead, while the head of the slain snake just sat on the ground. Serena stood close by, gripping her sword tight, while Fafnir beside her panted that this monster had him drenched in sweat. Then the girl snapped that the snake felt suspiciously unstoppable. She guessed that this spirit of darkness was pumping him up with its magic, and she could only pray the protagonist was still okay wherever he'd ended up. The dragon said the spatial rift snapped shut the second he crossed it, and now he can't even track them anymore. Among monsters, there are kinds that magic can't touch, so Fafnir wondered if it was a mistake to send him out alone. Rage flared in his chest, and he stewed over how useless his familiar really was. Right then, the main character slipped in behind the girl. Alive rushed an apology and admitted he was late. Serena's body jolted with shock and fear. Then she leaned in and asked the guy, "How are you holding up? Are you safe?" He admitted it was just a small scrape, but he was fine, and Fafnir shot back, sure as ever, that he'd come back safe. The main character said he slipped out through that spatial gap, and at the same time Serena stared him down, then burst into a chuckle and said she finally got the whole thing. Then her face snapped into suspicion, and the girl pressed him about the magic flowers if he'd managed to pick them. He dropped his head, his face crumpling into heartbreak, and apologized, swearing he never meant to leave them behind. Serena snapped at him right away. "What do you mean?" And he brushed it off with, "Everything's fine." She clearly didn't buy it, and then Noah swung to the dragon and demanded, "Take us, just label up on yourself," while he hurriedly apologized for putting him on the spot. The dragon nodded in agreement, saying it wouldn't cause him a single problem, so Noah shot back his thanks, then admitted he was totally out of magic for the spatial jump. With those words hanging in the air, he leapt onto Fafnir's back alongside Lady Serena, and the whole crew blasted into the sky together while the girl kept glancing around, terrified out of her mind, clinging to him like her life depended on it. The dragon spun toward the main character and demanded, "Are you really telling me it's okay we didn't get the magic flower? Because that's the whole point of this journey, right?" With a grin, the main character said, "Everything's fine," then snapped his gaze to the unknown man and told him, "You can go now, this dragon's harmless, so don't be scared." Then the boy blurts out, "Can I ask you for a favor?" And Fafnir immediately fires back, asking who he's talking to and what weird language he's babbling. Later on, at Carl's family home, the man stood beside his wife and the doctor at their daughter's bedside, while she lay there, hand in her mother's grip, completely out cold. Her father leaned in and called out, "Carla, hold on a little longer." And her mother, panicked too, shouted her name as the fever raged through her, sweat pouring down her face. Carl swore it would all be okay. Mr. Noah would surely come back with the magic flower. Then right then, the girl snapped her eyes open and shouted for her dad. It was clear she was running on empty, yet she forced out a shaky smile and told them to look because a fairy was right there in the room. Carl leaned in and demanded to know what his daughter was saying, and you could see terror gripping him as her words hit. Then he snapped at her to hold on tight, swearing that everything would flip soon. Right then, the girl's mother lifted her head, hooked by what her daughter was saying, and bam, she couldn't help but feel stunned. She snapped her head toward her husband, visibly rattled by what was going on, and he demanded to know what had happened. Then the man lunged his head upward too, and right there he froze, shocked by what stared back at him. Right above their heads, practically glued to the ceiling, a tiny fairy hovered in midair, wings out, dressed in some weird little getup. The girl called out Carla's name with a bright grin and asked, like she couldn't believe it, if that really was her name. The fairy plops onto the bed, and the girl's parents stare in stunned amazement at the tiny creature with shimmering, transparent wings. Carla stares at the fairy, and the fairy grins back at her, like it knows exactly what she's thinking. She grabs the girl's attention and declares that the era of miracles is here, then tells her, "Don't you dare forget to thank Mr. Noah." The fairy spins toward Carla's parents and vows that everything will finally be okay. Yet her father can't believe it, convinced he's dreaming the whole thing. All night long, fairies streak through the city in gorgeous dresses, their legs dressed in flower bracelets that shimmer as they fly. A dark sky hangs overhead as the houses blaze with golden window light, and the summer fairies buzz around chatting, laughing, and lighting up the night. Carlos's father peers out the window and spots hundreds of lights in the sky, tiny fireflies blazing through the night. Then the fairy streaks straight toward Noah and his companion. Dragon Fafnir perched on Noah's shoulder and pointed out magical flowers sprouting exactly where the fairies live. Noah's jaw drops when fairies suddenly show up in the middle of a packed city, and he quickly puts it together. Those magical flowers are behind it. The young man swears he rescued the fairies stuck in a spatial gap, and they turn around and decide to help him right back. The dragon watches the fairies streak across the sky and realizes Noah's talent isn't just strength, it's decoding other languages. Because for a true hero, no race ever becomes a wall. Noah figures this chaos is exactly what you'd expect from the guy who signed a minion contract with him. Then he catches Fafnir mumbling and shouts that it's time to start brewing the elixir. Ingredients spill onto the table, and right alongside them sits the elixir itself, trapped in a glass flask. Joy erupts as Carla Chan, who fought magic meridian hardening syndrome, finally gets cured, and her happy parents crush her in a tight, tearful embrace. The girl bursts into joyful laughter, and the heroes beam with pride at what they've just accomplished. The girl's father whirls toward Nella, stunned at a loss for words, then drops his head and thanks the young man again and again, pouring out pure sincerity. Noah snaps, telling him not to bow his head, and the hero can finally breathe everything with Carla is okay now. Her father leans in and tells his daughter that Noah has healed her for good. She blinks in disbelief, then throws back a heartfelt thanks, and the young man can't help but smile. The family's head snaps his attention to his wife and then to Carla. Noah can't stop replaying the night his mom died right after he was born, and how his father never loved him. So yeah, he's got a whole lot to see. So the young man decides he can't keep cracking the family's peace, and he straight up tells everyone, "I have to go." Carlos's father turns to Noah and invites him over for dinner, asking if he'd be okay with it. The hero tells Carla she has to recover from her illness, and she shoots back that the discomfort is gone. She feels even better than before, and to prove it, she demands a hamburger. Carla's family drags Lady Serena and the others into the invite, and they say yes because everyone won't stop insisting. Then Fafnir grumbles that, despite his scary looks, he's a herbivore, so they hand him white apples and the dragon absolutely devours them. The fairy blurts out that she's craving human food too, and Noah's jaw drops because she's still standing right there. She rockets up into the sky right in front of them, and the whole group erupts in happy laughter as they watch her soar. Noah can't shake the feeling that this whole family thing is real. Everyone crowded around a lavish spread, tearing into mouth-watering food and firing off excited conversation like it was the best night of their lives. The B-rank quest to grab the magic flower is finally finished. Noah tells them he's wrapped the entire forest in a barrier so tightly that no spirit of darkness can ever slip back in, and the fairies nod like, "Yep, that's exactly what we expected from Mr. Noah." The fairy thanks the hero for everything he's done, then says that from now on, Mr. Noah is basically a walking god to the fairies. They drop into a grateful bow, and Noah can't help but chuckle, half embarrassed, half relieved. That young man turns and says a tearful goodbye, and the fairies beg him, "Come back to our forest again." Mr. Carl thanks Noah for crushing the quest and says his rank jumps up to E because of it, then congratulates him, and the hero shoots back his thanks too. The man hands the young man the reward he promised, 5 platinum coins and a small chest straight from his own hands. Noah blurts that he can't handle them, they're too much, and begs to use them for Carlos's future. But the man snaps back. That's exactly how he's already used them. The girl's father grips his hands and pleads with Noah not to turn down the reward because Noah has every right to it. A roaring crowd surges in front of the building, packing the streets with anticipation. The young man clocks the crowd swelling around them, and Serena leans in to say, "If I'm right, a legend and archaeologist from Ludolf, the kingdom's capital is coming today." The girl blurts out that they need an adventurer to go with them to the east and scour those ancient ruins, and Noah shoots back, asking about the ruins again. She realizes the young man is totally hooked because he's not just watching, he's using ancient magic himself. A mysterious girl suddenly blares her heartbreak to the whole room, like she can't hold it in for one more second. She says she's traveled so far from Ludolf, yet even here she's stuck dealing with run-of-the-mill adventurers, and she needs someone with a truly extraordinary, weirdly specific talent. Mr. Carl pushes her to take a closer look at Noah. He shoves her forward and hypes the hero up, claiming she's a brand new adventurer with huge promise. The girl locks eyes with the young man and fires off, "What rank are you, and what kind of tiny dragon are you carrying on your shoulder?" Noah tells her, "I just hit E rank," and then pats the tiny dragon perched on his shoulder, his familiar, the one he sealed a minion contract with. The girl whips her head away and snaps that he's no good at all, and Mr. Carl is left staring in pure shock at her choice. She says E rank doesn't even make the cut if they want in. It's B rank all the way, or at least C rank. The man tells her that Mr. Noah has real experience finishing B rank missions, but she brushes it off as nothing more than dumb luck. The young man tells Mr. Carl, "Don't try to sway her." Mr. Carl nods, sounding defeated, because once he hears it, he knows he can't do a thing. Lady Serena stands up for Noah, arguing that his low rank is just because he's a brand new adventurer, and then she challenges her, asking if he even has a shot. But before she can finish, the young man interrupts her and calls her by name. Turns out the girl knows Serena like for real, and she's an A-rank adventurer. The shock on her face hits instantly. She swears there's even a crew of her fans in Ludolf because she's the youngest A-rank adventurer, and her swordsmanship is unreal. Noah gushes that Lady Serena is amazing, and the heroine just shrugs it off. Then the girl tells her she'd love to have her as an escort, if she's willing. Serena blurts out an apology, then shuts Noah down hard. She says leveling up can wait. She has zero interest in the ruins, and she's definitely not doing it like him. The girl shoots back, "Why are you standing up for that E-rank boy?" She's convinced it's Serena's boyfriend, so she can't stop being biased. Serena shuts that claim down hard. She declares, Noah is incredible no matter his rank, then swears he's got her full backing with an A rank. The heroine leans in and fires off one question. "How are your wounds and your magic power?" Noah smirks because he's already fully recovered. They step out into the yard, and Serena fires the first shot, challenging Noah to a fight. She says there's only one real way to prove his strength, and she wants it done fast. Then the young man hesitates, while the girl scoffs hard, because this sounds ridiculous when the strength gap between them is massive. Everyone's staring in shock. Nobody can even guess who'd dare to pick a fight with that lady. Serena grabs the hero's attention, begging him to stop hesitating and praying that Noah won't go all out. The young man decides to dial his firepower down to sparring levels, but he still knows ancient magic can wreck someone in an instant if it lands. Serena blasts into the sky and dares Noah, "Try to hit me first." The girl slammed her blow into him with everything she had. The heroine snaps, "Don't be scared. and she slaps his face with the flat of her hand. Then she grimly thinks, yeah, that pain has to be brutal. The girl grabs his resolve and dares him to keep swinging in the fight. This time, the young man shoots forward and reacts first. Serena bursts out that his reflexes are incredible, then confesses she's jealous of how he can just float in the air. The boy blurts out that it's his time to attack. The girl nods in agreement, and he thrusts his hand forward. Serena knows Noah's using a special spell, Absolute Flame, and she figures one thing fast, don't let it hit you, because you won't walk away as easily. The hero blasts forward, engulfing himself in a raging wall of flames before striking. The girl sprints toward him, baffled because the flame won't chase her at all. It's frozen in place around him. The heroine stares as Noah vanishes behind a curtain of roaring fire, then scrambles to piece together what it all means. She frets that he might have vanished, then forces herself to believe the hero will swoop in and pop up right behind her before she even realizes it. Serena's convinced that the young man is going to pop up behind her using a spatial transition. The girl lunges in hard, then Noah clocks it instantly and snaps into his transition again. The young man finally admits that beating Serena isn't easy, and Serena shoots back that she lost no chance at all. The girl shrieks that she can't even process what she's seeing. An E rank crushed an A rank, and when the crowd roars, the heroes snap to attention because they realize they're being watched. The girl drops her guards, apologizes for snapping at him earlier, and then tells Noah she'd be thrilled to bring him on as her assistant to explore the ancient ruins. That young man really digs in for this, grabs her offer without hesitation, and Serena can't help smiling because she's genuinely glad for him. She insists it's way too soon to say goodbye, and the hero nods along, agreeing with her. The girl says it was a short but priceless experience like living inside a fairy tale, and then Noah shoots back that he knew next to nothing about an adventurer's life, but he learned a ton. Serena grins and says she wouldn't be shocked if, the next time they cross paths, that boy is already an S rank or even wearing the Razday Kingdom hero title, and she tells Fafnir to look after himself, and Fafnir shoots the same kind of reassurance right back. Noah beams at his friends and gives Serena's hand a firm, grateful shake. The girl tells the hero there's a magical ride waiting just outside the city, and they're heading straight to the ruins on it, so the young man nods and agrees. Noah raises a hand and waves goodbye to everyone, thanking them again for their hospitality and firing them off with wishes for good luck. The heroes share a painful goodbye. The young man and the girl head straight for the forest, while Mr. Carl's daughter, cradled in his arms, wears heartbreak on his face as Noah and Serena fade away, and Serena sends him off with a bright, determined wish for success. Through the gaps in the treetops, you can spot an active volcano. Smoke blasts up from the forest and races straight into the sky. The girl finally steps up and tells Noah who she is, Yoon, and she works as an archaeologist and a magical instrument engineer in Ludolf, the kingdom's capital. Then Noah fires back with his own name, and he brings Fafnir along too. Yoon says you don't see a tiny talking dragon every day, and she's totally stunned by his scary-sounding name. Noah snorts, laughing, and then they finally reach the transport the girl was talking about. The boy blurts out, "Is this the magical vehicle Yoon was talking about?" and admits he's never seen one before. Then the girl grins and says, "Yep, it's my motorcycle, my pride and joy." She asks the boy, ready to roll, smoke belching, gas spits from the exhaust pipe, and Noah blurts that a dimensional jump would get them there in seconds because all he's ever wanted is to chase the world. The motorcycle rips into the sky, and the heroes launch after it, tearing past towering mountains as clouds drift overhead. And by evening, Yoon and Noah pitch the camp and crack a fire to burn through the night. The very next day, they roll up to the site and the young man's jaw drops at the ruins. Yoon wastes no time and pushes, "Let's start exploring right now." The heroes storm into the building and rush headfirst into the pitch-black darkness, hiding in the corridor ahead. They tour into the ancient ruins east of Ludolf, hunting answers in the shadow. Yoon grips a blazing torch and leads their little procession. Then she declares that as their leader, she'll teach Noah the ropes of archaeological research first, and Noah nods right along with her. She tells him the ruins' priceless treasure is wrapped in traps everywhere, so he better move with total caution. Suddenly, something lunges at them, and an OAA snaps into action, whipping up a magic barrier so fast it feels like lightning itself. The hero admits she was right. These traps are real. Yoon then smirks and says she triggered the trap on purpose just to see if he'd fall for it. Magical fetters suddenly burst out of nowhere, and snap around the girl's arms and legs, leaving her completely lost as she watches it all happen. Noah rushes in, tears them off, and frees her. The chains snap apart and whip off to the sides, and Yoon rockets forward with a blood-curdling scream straight into the arms of the young man. The hero squints and says it looks like an ancient weaving tool, while the girl's mind races because she'll do whatever it takes to save herself. She wrinkles her brow, fury blazing because she's been caught twice already, and now Yoon's ready to face anything head-on. The girl jumps onto Noah's back, hooks her arms around his shoulders, and urges him forward. Noah grunts that it's a bit hard to walk like this, but she swears she'll never leave him again, and then Fafnir decides to take the lead. The heroes thunder down the corridor. The familiar zips ahead like a warning flare, and right in front of them lies an empty room. Noah leans in and tells him everything's okay. This room has no sneaky traps. Yoon grips him hard, hanging on like her life depends on it, because she fully trusts him. The hero admits he's hooked on the symbols carved into the wall, and the girl fires back, asking if he can decode them, so Noah says yeah, and leans in, staring hard at the writing. Yoon realizes the daughter's old enough to know better, yet she eats like she has no manners at all, and that's enough to make her father panic about her future. Yoon asks what's going on, and Noah drops the bomb. It's an ancient diary. He keeps dissecting the symbols, the runic calendar the heroes just heard about for the first time. Then he points out that by the civilization's calendar, it's the year 779, which means over 779 years have already slipped by. Yoon takes one look at it all and bets ancient people once ruled these lands, and Noah can't help but wonder too. Noah devours the page about reality being brutal and how you've got to hunt down the dream turtle yourself. No excuses, no matter what, and then he's left staring at the question, what kind of dream turtle is this supposed to be? Johan pushes him to hunt down the legendary treasure hidden in the ancient ruins, and the hero nods, so they set off together. At the end of the corridor, they slam to a stop at a dead end. Fafnir nods like it's no big deal, saying they've already sprinted through these ruins and checked every corner, so when they reach the end and still find nothing, the girl's face crumples with pure frustration. Yoon slides off Noah's back and tells him that most ruin explorations crash into dead ends. Then they decide to at least crack open the ancient records. The hero stared at the wall and then noticed fresh words carved into it by someone else. The wall's writing demands she grab a specific book, but Yoon's totally lost on which one it is, so she reaches into her things and pulls it out. Noah asks what the book is, and the girl spills that it's her secret notebook stuffed with everything from research notes to girly secrets. Yet Yoon just stares, confused because nothing seems to be going on. The hero demanded a minute to think because he had to slam every detail into place before he made his move. He's convinced it's the Book of Peace. After that one incident, he hunted it again and again, but every time he tried, it never showed up. The young man prays she'll show up right here, then shuts his eyes tight, feels the book's pages turning in his mind. The book suddenly forms out of thin air, and Noah erupts with relief he finally pulled it off. He leans in and studies the symbols, hunting for what this ancient ruin is trying to warn him about, until the hero uncovers the trap count and exact locations, learns how to disarm each one, and even gets a map of the ruins. Noah cracks open the book and learns a jaw-dropping secret. There's a staircase hidden behind the wall, leading straight down. Using a magic spell, the young man smashes the wall aside and swings in a door where it never belonged. The girl's jaw drops at his skills, and the two of them stare, breath held, as a passage cracks open in the stone wall. Noah blurts out that they're finally moving on, and Yoon, right behind him, erupts into a delighted cry. She demands he pause for a second and spill exactly how he pulled it off. But the hero groans that it's too hard to explain in words. Then he urges the girl to keep pushing her research. Yoon spots a flickering blaze, and Noah snaps that it's a torch, ancient magic. Yoon reaches out and drags his fingers over the wall, stunned that this whole place was built in a totally different way from the ruins above. Yoon can't even blink because the truth hits him hard. The civilization the ancients built is way beyond the modern world, and he knows it's real the moment he sees it. She blurts out, practically vibrating with excitement, that they've just struck the discovery of the century, while Noah can only stare, stunned by how incredible it all is. Fafnir the dragon snaps his head forward, stunned by what he spots. Yoon blurts, "What do you see? What else could be here?" And for a beat, the heroes are completely speechless. Right in front of them, a totally unfamiliar girl floats in midair, hanging over a scattering of crystals like she's calling the shot. Her eyes stay shut, her arms hang still by her sides, and her cloak and long hair whip through the air like they're dancing to danger. Yoon snaps back to reality first and fires off, asking her friends if what's in front of them is just a doll. Noah stares at the girl hovering in the air, certain she's right in front of him. Yet something in the moment feels like pure magic. Noah stands there, stunned. Out of his mind, he never thought this could happen, then steps right up to the crystals and presses his hand against the magic mechanism and says it lets you freeze and even mess with time. Suddenly, a blinding light tears through the scene, and the heroes get the news access is granted. The moment it kicks on, the whole place erupts in noise and thunderous rumbling, and Yoon is left staring, totally clueless about what's happening or why that device suddenly came to life. The girl jolts with a pulse of life and charges straight for them. Right out of nowhere, a strange girl plummets onto Noah and slams him to the ground, knocking the wind clean out of him. He jerks himself to his feet, hauls her up, and stares into her face. Then he sees it. Her eyes finally clear, and pure relief hits him like a wave. The hero rushes in and asks if she's okay. She blurts out a response in some strange language, and he's left staring like, I don't understand a single word. Noah snaps to it. She's talking in a totally different language, and she can't stop herself from muttering curses. Suddenly, the stranger lunges in her foot, hovering millimeters from the boy's face. Then she slams down and snaps into her next attack. The girl drops to the ground and crawls toward Noah, and when Noah hears her words again, curiosity hits him hard. Who is she really? The stranger bends at an impossible angle, plants both hands and feet on the ground, and keeps rattling out strange, meaningless noises. The hero snaps to it, chanting as in the air. He knows this is spiraling fast, so he grabs Fafnir's attention and orders him to protect Lady Yoon. Noah and the girl lunge into the fight at the exact same moment, crashing into each other like two disasters colliding. They chant a spell, and an absolute blaze erupts between them, roaring to life. The heroes face off across the battlefield, channeling their magic straight ahead. Noah can't believe it, even in this modern world. People still know how to wield the absolute flame. The situation hits so fast, the hero snaps into action. He flings the girl aside without even thinking about his own strength. And then he realizes she's not just talking an ancient language, she's unleashing absolute flame too. Noah figures she's a survivor from an ancient era, because there's no other way she could speak that ancient language. A young man rushes up to a girl sprawled on the ground, insisting no, promising he's not here to hurt her. Suddenly, she springs up and locks her legs around his neck, and Noah instantly knows he won't get a single word out like this. Good thing his familiar stepped in, blasting the stranger with every last ounce of its power and ripping the young man free from the suffocating grip. The hero strides up to Fafnir, towering far bigger than before, and he hammers out a huge thank you for the help. Ewan's jaw drops at the dragon familiar's monstrous size, and she blurts out, "Wait, are you the real Fafnir?" The stranger's fury burns, and Noah scrambles to make her understand they're not here to hurt him. She can't make sense of him at all, and she thinks she's only catching the language of runes, and that before this, something far beyond burned in the air, the terrifying, immense power of the absolute flame. The stranger leans in and demands if Noah belongs to the rune tribe. Noah panics, apologizes fast, and says, "No, I'm not with them." The hero begs Lady Yoon for a minute, promising he'll finally lay it all out for the girl, and she nods, understanding him instantly. The stranger leans in and asks if she really got sealed away for ages inside a time-stopping tool, and Noah nods like, yeah. Then adds he and she share the same language, because his decoding talent makes everything clear. In the middle of the human versus devil war, she remembers her father grabbing her and forcing her to come here. The hero presses again about the war with the devils, and all he ever gets is the same old story that long ago, humans and devils were locked in a grinding, endless conflict. The stranger leans in and demands to know just how long she's been trapped behind that seal. Noah fires back, saying it's wild to believe this many, because the language and magic she's using are supposedly called ancient. Now, the girl is totally stunned. She drags a young man along and begs him to take her to the heavenly tower, then blows his mind with that wild request. The stranger tells her the watchtower is right nearby, and those runes lock it in place so it can't be wrecked no matter how ages grind on and she needs to go see the world for herself with her own eyes. Noah begs Lady Yoon for permission to take the girl up to the Sky Tower, and she waves it off, saying they've already passed it on the way here, so she's totally fine with it. The watchtower thrusts up into the clouds, its peak kissing the sky itself. To the girl's shock, Noah snapped open a spatial transition, and boom, the heroes were yanked straight into the tower. The stranger stares into the far distance and claims that from this spot you can see the whole kingdom of Runes-Kirkshisha. From the top of the watchtower, the girl leans out and drinks in the kingdom, sprawling out as far as the eye can reach. The heroes roll into Ludolf Kingdom capital and slam to a stop at the fortress wall. Noah can't help but hype up the royal capital like it's the biggest prize on earth. Then he slings Yoon back onto his shoulders again, just like before. The stranger snorts with contempt and snaps that Kirkshisha is even more amazing. Then the young man just chuckles. They step into the city and get swallowed by a jam-packed, narrow street where every wall feels close and every breath feels crowded. Sweat beads cover her like she's been running for her life. Noah, she complains that the streets are packed, too many people, too many shops everywhere. The girl snaps that everything felt wrong in Kirk's shop. Like unease was crawling up her spine, so she clings to the young man for protection. And right when she does, they're suddenly called out. The girl gets stared at from every angle, showered with beautiful lady and doll, and everyone's blown away by her clothes, so they decide the stranger must be some kind of foreign princess. Lady Yoon points out that the girl's origins hit the spotlight right away, and Noah shoots back that her outfit doesn't match a single thing the capital would normally wear. He shoves his long, hooded cloak into her hands and tells her she'll have to wear it for a while. Alexia, grateful, thanks him. She swears the robe suddenly feels way more comfortable, and she's convinced it's because those runes carved into it are doing something to her. At last, they arrive at Lady Yoon's mansion. She practically skips with joy. The maid rushes over to greet her, and the whole place lights up because the mistress is finally back. The girl fires off a quick question about how the exam went, and Yoon answers with a calm, "It wasn't bad this time." She brings the maid over to her friends and says they'll have her staying with them for a while, and Yoon immediately warns her that the girl's a foreigner, so she better treat her with kindness. The maid fully understood. She asks the girl for permission to take her clothes, and Noah looks Alexia dead in the eyes, explaining that she's got to slip off her robe. She says she's hungry, and Jan bursts out laughing like, "Wait now, I get it." Then she decides they're eating first, no delays. The heroes burst into a dining room and skid up to a massive set table. The maid leans in and asks Noah if he wants anything special. Noah shakes his head and says, "No." The hero slumps into his seat and asks Alexia what she likes to eat, and she admits she has no preferences at all, so the maid grins and tells him to hang tight for a moment. The young man stops cold, realizing just how long it's been since anyone treated him like he mattered. The moment they sit down, the food hits the table looking so mouth-watering, it feels like a promise of joy. Lady Yoon steps up and proudly declares this is their chef's signature dish, then tells everyone, "Bon appetit." The maid drops off a basket of apples for fanfare, and his eyes light up with pure love and gratitude. Then Noah nudges Alexia and says, "All right, we can start eating." With a fork in hand, she clenches her resolve and digs in to try every bite on her plate. The girl rages as she drives a fork into a hunk of meat, and Noah and Ewan can't peel their eyes off Alexia. She snaps off a call and takes a bite of her food, like nothing can wait. She rips off a chunk of meat, bites down hard, and chews with pure, greedy delight. Watching Alexia, Yoon clocks how her eating style is so primal it almost looks primitive. Suddenly, she slams on the brakes, looks up from her food, and freezes. She remembers her manners and blurts out an apology to everyone at the table, and Noah just smiles, telling her she has nothing to fear. Because if the food tastes this good, why would she hold back? Alexia admits her father used to snap at her all the time, and the young man nods like, "Yeah, royal families don't play." Then he leans in and says, "If you want, I can teach you." Alexia nods along and Noah leans in, telling her it's totally simple. He guides the girl to grip her cutlery the right way, cheering her on the whole time. Then as she slices off a tiny piece and pops it into her mouth, the hero flashes a confident grin and says she's doing great. Then Alexia laughs and says it tastes even better just like this. Noah grins, calls the maid over for a loaf of bread, and demonstrates how you can slice it open, stuff it with meat and veggies, and turn it into something seriously satisfying. The young guy proudly holds up the sandwich he just finished, and it looks so mouth-watering you can practically taste it. He says it's way easier to eat it all at once, and Alexia nods like, all right, I'll try. Yoon's eyes lock onto that sandwich, and his stomach growls. So he decides to make one for himself, just watching how Alexia devours hers with pure appetite. The girl blurts out that she has to wash up. Noah shoots her a thank you and tells Alexia she can finally go take a bath right then. Lady Yoon snaps for the girl to come with her. She grabs her hand, and they stride down the corridor. Then the young man shoots them a look and a wish of luck as he walks away. Fafnir picks up on the unease and demands to know why the hero isn't with them. Noah just cracks up and laughs it off. In the bathroom, the girls strip down fast and shove their clothes into waiting baskets. Then they march over to a massive bathtub like they were about to step into something legendary. Alexia blurts out an ancient language, and the second Noah isn't there, Yoon can't understand a single word. Then Alexia realizes she doesn't know what the girl is saying either. Yoon fires back at her, calling her an ancient woman, then warns her not to get carried away. She can't see a thing without her glasses, and when she looks up, Alexia's gaze sends a chill down her spine. Alexia, though, shrugs it off, thinking she's just taking a bath and has no reason to talk. Lady Yoon jabs a finger at a bottle of shampoo and speaks again, and the girl immediately gets the hint she's being told to start washing herself. Alexia watched Yoon scrub his hair and suddenly remembered how in Kurchish, cleansing runes fired up on the spot, pure instant magic. The girl can't stop staring at Lady Yoon. Why is she all slick with foam? And where are these bubbles even coming from? She figures it's some kind of modern magic, and then she catches the sweet, pleasant scent hanging in the air. Yoon taps the shampoo again and squeezes it into her palm, then shows Alexia exactly how to lather up her body until the girl realizes it's made from recycled plants. Yoon stares at Alexia's silky skin and blurts that she's the princess of some ancient kingdom. She bursts into laughter, and the girl still doesn't get it, because it was Noah who translated everything for her. Alexia sizes up Yen's attitude, snaps that she's acting arrogant, and reminds her straight up that she's the princess of an ancient kingdom. Yoon insists she's not the type to say things like that, but her expressionless face keeps creeping her out because it feels like it's doing something wrong. While Alexia shuts that down fast, there's no need to talk in the bath. The girls lounge in the bathtub, drowning in bubbles, and Yoon can't stop thinking how exhausted she feels, because not understanding another language is a non-stop pain in the neck. Alexia and Yoon both blur out something no one can make out, then lock eyes for a split second like they're in on a secret. They keep sitting in that bathroom in total silence, letting the tension stretch on for a while. At last, they haul themselves out of the water, towel-wrapped and blinking. Then they stare at their reflection in the mirror. Yoon slides on his glasses and presents the hairdryer to Alexia like it's some kind of magic device for drying hair. Then he fires it up, and warm air blasts out as Alexia thrusts her hands underneath, feeling the heat and awe. Alexia is stunned that floating things can be used that way, and Yoon is dead serious with like the ancient civilization is downright terrifying. Meanwhile, night drops in and Noah wastes no time. He asks how the girl's bath went as they step out of the tub. Yoon and Alexia, draped in those long, frilly nightgowns, beam and tell him it was brutal, but they made it through, and the young man can finally breathe easy. Noah can't ignore it somehow. The girls are pulling even closer than before. He tells Alexia she'll feel uneasy if she can't speak. Then the hero pushes her to hit the books and start studying modern languages. She looks him in the eye and promises she'll try. Yoon leans in and asks if she can really learn to understand the ancient speech, and the young man grins. He's certain that with her erudition, she'll pull it off for sure because people from different eras can still get along, and Fafnir backs him up. Next time, all the girls gang up and beg Noah to join their bath, but he bursts into laughter and outright refuses. The boy whips around to his father and blurts, "Because I can decode so well, I can finally read this crazy hard book." With eyes sparkling, the kid blurts that it lets him understand a ton of languages too. So yeah, decoding is clearly an underrated superpower. His father leans in and demands to know what all that effort is even getting him. He swings for the boy, and the boy, terror blazing in his eyes, realizes with sick certainty that the next hit is coming. The kid drops to his knees, begging his father not to beat him, and swears he'll be obedient. From now on, he'll do everything his father said. Noah jolts awake in the dead of night from a nightmare, staring at the ceiling like he can't believe he just dreamed about his childhood, and Fafnir is right there, sleeping soundly on his pillow. A fresh day breaks, and the mansion carries on like nothing happened. Noah and Alexia slide into their seats side by side at the table. The girl, like she's casually dropping a challenge, tells you she's going to eat bread and a white apple. Then she points right at the food sitting on the table in front of her. Alexia slowly takes a bite of the loaf, and the young man can't help but praise her. She gets modern language way better than anyone expected. The girl claims it's because Noah is such a great teacher, and Noah bursts out laughing, saying it all comes down to Alexia's hard work. She catches the young man off guard and asks him to stroke her head. He hesitates for a split second, then does it, thinking Alexia actually deserves the comfort. Noah breaks in, praising her sweetly like, "Good girl," and Alexia lights up, absolutely thrilled. Вона обіцяє, що постарається для нього, а герой не може перестати думати про те, чи її батько коли-небудь ставився до неї так само. For one sharp moment, Noah flashes back to the look in his father's eyes from his nightmare. Then Alexia catches the shift in his mood and asks if he's okay, and Noah quickly tells her he's fine. Noah leans in and tells her, "It's all good, don't stress." Then he heads straight to the guild to formally register Alexia as an adventurer. The girl asks him what an adventurer really is, and Noah lights it up. An adventurer is a kind of handyman who'll do anything, from hauling supplies to throwing down in a fight. He tells her she'll learn about the modern world and earn real money too. Alexia says she's totally fine with being with Noah. Then the young man leans in and grills Yoon about her plans. She's so deep in forging a brand new magical tool that it's unreal. Fafnir can't stop praising her focus, and he says she's now trying to bend the rune symbol's power to a whole new purpose. They decide to leave Lady Yoon to her work and slip off to the guild without her. The heroes storm into the Adventurers Guild in Ludolf the Fell, right on the edge of disaster. Alexia registers, gets handed a certificate that brands her a D-rank wizard, and she can't help but think, that was way too easy, even if, in her eyes, she's been pretty dumb about how she handled it. Noah explains that Lady Yoon already had a recommendation letter ready, so Alexia got a D rank on the spot. This girl instantly swears Yoon is amazing, and the hero doesn't fall behind either, because he's promoted to D rank too. Fafnir sizes up Noah's skills and decides they deserve an S rank, until the kid reminds him that ranks only rise by boosting one stat at a time. So Fafnir nods and calls it time to head home. Alexia's stomach growls like it means business, so she tells Noah she's starving. Then he says, "Let's hit the market." She's instantly sold on the idea and sprints ahead of the boy without looking back. Alexia tells Noah that after dinner they'll bathe together, but he snaps back that he'll never ever step inside that place. Then Fafnir steps in and offers his candidacy to the girl. The hero admits that only now the thought finally hit him. What if he's got no idea what gender his familiar really is? Nola lunges again with the next move, and she ends up totally speechless. Right then, a towering guy in a long black cloak steps in front of them, and Noah's pupils catch his silhouette like a warning. The young man's eyes lock on him, and it hits hard. That's his father, and he never once expected to find him here. The hero blurts out why he's even in the kingdom's capital, and Alexia leans in, staring straight at his face, only to realize Noah's father is standing right there. He snaps that answers can wait. Then they all rush back to the mansion at once. Noah snaps at his father, saying, "You're the one who threw me out." But his father shuts him down fast, barking at him to stop talking and finally listen. The man yanks the boy by the hand. Fafnir is ready to tear into whoever dares touch his friend, while Noah snaps to his father that he's not coming back. He says he's got his own stuff to take care of now. Then his father loosens his grip, and suddenly it all clicks into place for him. He snaps that if it has to be like that, he'll take it back by force. Then a magical fireball ignites in his hands. Noah throws himself in front of Alexia and Fafnir, shielding them as he warns, and then he introduces them to his father. With flames blazing all around him, the young man insists this guy is the most powerful fire mage of all. The father launches every fireball in one brutal burst at his son, but he slams them all out of the air, leaving his dad completely stunned. Noah snaps up a magical barrier in front of him, and every ball slams into it at once. He calls it ancient magic. His father stares in shock at the purple fire, convinced Princess Claudia was right, and then he demands to know if Noah tracked down the ancient grimoire. Noah answers, yes. The man figures the decoding taught Noah ancient magic from dusty grimoires, then snaps, "Go back to the estate and become the next head of the family." And Noah refuses. Noah shuts it down because his father only worships the talent he thinks he sees in him, yet the man still never gets what Noah is trying to say. He has no clue what's going on because in the Aldeheims it's all prestige and perfection, and talent is everything to them. The young man shuts his mouth tight, and Fafnir glares menacingly from his shoulder, while his father insists he never meant to spark a pogrom in the kingdom's capital. Yet with things like this, he'll have to do it anyway. Noah unleashes another brutal wave of magic at his son, then looks back and freezes when he sees Alexia's hand stretched out. "What's wrong?" he demands. The girl's terrified the man will hurt Noah, so she grabs the young guy and begs him, "Don't pull punches and don't let the fact that he's Noah's father stop you." The man stared at Alexia like a threat and barked, "You nasty little girl." Then boom, the ground starts to rattle under them, and Noah, still staring at his father down, yells a full-on warning, "Earthquake." The moment it kicks off, everything settles just as fast. Terrified residents burst out of their doors, trading frantic questions. "Are you okay?" Because that shaking felt way too real. The man snarls at Noah that he'll drag him back for sure, then turns to his son and warns him not to even think about running, because no matter what, it won't work. As his father storms out, the young man calls after him in a low voice, then whips around to Alexia, thanking her and blurting out an apology for what happened. The girl doesn't even flinch. She's lost in her own thoughts. Fafnir shoots Noah a question. "Did he feel it too?" Noah nods. "Yeah, exactly." Then straight ahead, something massive and deadly bright oozes into view, radiating enormous magical power. A massive nightmare of a monster crashed into the kingdom, its spiked shell jutting out like a weapon. The girl leans in and tells Noah, "It's a dream turtle." Alexia can't believe it. She's still alive in the modern world, like the universe just refused to erase her. Out of nowhere, a colossal monster, the size of a nightmare, just burst in from the east of the royal capital, and it's charging straight for us right now. Ancient ruins uncovered the truth. His name is Dream Turtle. Lady Yun brings terrifying news to the royal family by marching right into the royal palace and reporting it to them face to face. The princess is trembling with fear, and the king vows to calm the Dream Turtle with every ounce of power the kingdom of Razde can muster. He barks an order to the Night Order, snatch a squad of mages together fast, and immediately summon every adventurer of rank D and up. The king barks orders to alert every nearby adventurer guild, like the hunt has just started. Mr. Carl and Serena just found out the king is itching to pack the royal capital of Ludolf with as many adventurers as he can get there. Yoon stared at Alexia and Noah and basically said, "I can't even wrap my head around it. Almost everyone has been raised on my ears." The girl beams because the heroes instantly clock the Dream Turtle's presence, and with how fast it's moving, it'll crash into the capital in just 3 days. So they'll start calming it down in 2. Yoon tells everyone she'll be holed up in the castle, cooking up a strategy using everything Alexia spilled to her, and for now, they can do whatever they want with the mansion. Alexia tells her to stop burning herself out and get some rest. Then the girl gives them a quick wave, smiles, and walks right back out the door. The maid rushes up to Noah and Alexia, apologizing through clenched nerves, then slams down the real news they've been ordered to evacuate too. The girl spots it instantly. The whole city feels like it's holding its breath because now the capital's packed with nothing but soldiers and adventurers ready to crush the uprising. Noah tells them to head to rest, swearing it's the smartest move, save every last ounce of strength for the decisive battle ahead, and the girl nods right along. They part at the bedroom door, and the young man tells her good night. Then Alexia reaches out, stops him cold, and calls his name. She leans in and asks, right to his face, can she crash with him tonight? Noah, Fafnir, and Alexia crash onto the bed together and settle in side by side. The girl locks eyes with the hero and pleads for his forgiveness. She tells him that ever since the Dream Turtle showed up, the past won't stop crashing into her mind. She's so terrified she can't even sleep. Noah gets it. He stares at the familiar, curled up and sleeping peacefully, even without his hind legs. Alexia fires a question at the young man. Are things really bad with his father? Noah snaps back, yes, and then insists he needs to tell her everything. He drops the truth he's from the respected Aldeheim family, but they cast him out because his magic talent was useless. The girl insists they just try to get along, and Noah shoots back that it's way messier than it sounds. Alexia leans in and demands he promise her right here, right now, that he will not die. She insists she knows exactly how strong he is, But the dream turtle is a freak of nature so rare that even in Kirkshish, no one could match him. Noah swore to her he wouldn't die. He'd crush the dream turtle and come out on top. Alexia curls into his chest. He gently strokes her head, and when she finally drifts off, he lies there thinking, all right now, how do I get myself to sleep? The young man steels himself because that dream turtle is probably the deadliest thing on the field, and he can't afford to lose his cool. He's stuck wondering, will his father jump in as an ally for the pacification? If he does that, thought feels downright encouraging. At last, all three crash into sleep, and the whole bedroom goes dead silent. Morning light spills into the mansion, and Fafnir jolts Alexia and Noah awake. The young man leans in and demands to know what happened, because he's terrified the dream turtle's movements might have thrown everything off. The dragon snarls that it's already past noon and demands to know how much longer Noah's going to stay asleep. Noah gasps, totally blindsided by how late it is. He remembers today they've got to be at the garrison, so he yells for Alexia to wake up and get dressed, and she blinks through her sleep, rubbing her eyes like she can't believe it's time. She snatches a change of clothes, and before she can blink, Noah and his familiar are already out the door. The hero leans in and asks if she's got zero nerves because she slept like a rock the day before the decisive battle. Then she fires back that he snored so loud he sounded like a pig. Fafnir cuts in, saying the only thing that matters is they made it to the fight on time. Meanwhile, in the eastern reaches of Ludolf, a garrison holds the line trying to calm a ghostly turtle that won't leave them alone. Alexia stares in disbelief at the sheer crowd and Noah jumps in, saying folks from nearby towns have rolled in too. As the crowd gathers, a few faces look downright shocking. People are already whispering the obvious. They've got to be the S-rank adventurers. And in Razde, there are only 12 of them. Fafnir turns to Noah with a question. They say this fight is doomed for him because he's stuck as a tiny dragon and can't use his real form in front of all these people. He vanishes into the tent and shocks his friends with a weird, impossible shadow. The heroes stare in shock as Fafnir fully transforms into a human, and not just any human, a woman. He confidently tells them that in this body he can run wild with zero issues, then tosses out that gender is something he doesn't even recognize. Every adventurer gets handed a strategy guide for the emergency quest, and Noah can't help but crack it open. Alexia leans in and asks what's written there, but Fafnir shrugs and says he has no clue. Then the young man cuts in and explains that the forces involved split into three main groups. The first strike force is packed with knights from the Razde army and backed by a squad of mages ready to unleash chaos. The hero shouts that a second strike force is tailing them, and then right away he assigns the capital's adventurers, Ludolf's crew, and everyone who came in from the nearby cities to the job. The final line of defense is the court mages and the S-rank adventurers backing them up. Alexia snaps, "Why can't we strike right now?" Noah answers, "Because it's smarter to hand the command to the army." The hero blurts that his father's name sits among the commanders of the last squad, and he's almost giddy because they're split into different groups, so the odds of actually running into him during this mission are slim. Noah also warns that multiple mechanisms will throw roadblocks in the way of the Dream Turtle's progress. Fafnir stares at what they've readied, wondering how they'll even survive this, because if it hits this soon, how long can everyone else hold their ground against that monster? Alexia blurts out that she never thought she'd face him again on this land, then pleads with her father and the people of Kirkshish to keep an eye on them. The girl vows that this time she'll finally no excuses beat the Dream Turtle. Noah tells them to shove everything back into place for now, because tonight they're sleeping in a tent. The princess thanks Noah's father for stepping into the task and then begs his forgiveness for what happened that day. Mr. Hildegund knows it won't be easy for Princess Claudia to step in as His Majesty's replacement at such a young age because she refuses to let anything bad happen to her father. The man's convinced Noah's tangled up in the emergency mission too, and that if he steps up and proves himself, Claudia will have to notice him. He tells the princess he wants to charge with the front ranks, and she fires back that Mr. Hildegand is brave, but with his skills, he'd be far better as a commander. The very next day, it's time to throw down battle ready. Knights tighten their formation and close in at one. The Razde Knights crashed onto the field, ready to make history. A cannon blasts to life, screaming the emergency mission into motion right as the fight with the Dream Turtle begins. The fight started, and the Ghost Turtle is already clawing its way onto the battlefield. Refugees pour into a temporary shelter on the far outskirts of the kingdom's capital, clutching hope like it might run out. The kid blurts, "Mom, does the bad monster want to smash our home?" And she squeezes his hand, telling him, "Don't panic. Razday's brutal soldiers will shut him down." The mother scoops up her daughter's fear and promises, "Don't worry, everything's going to be fine." Right now on the battlefield, the cannons are cranked to their highest firing angle, and shell after shell crashes down on the monster. The commander gets the report that nothing's working. The dream turtle still won't stop, so he snaps at the soldiers to stay calm and keep firing, all while wondering what kind of protection could possibly withstand it. The monster's closing in fast, and the soldiers tighten their grip on their shells, ready to unleash them. A ghostly turtle lunges in, and right on cue, the commander screams for everyone to fall back. A towering nightmare rips through the battlefield, shattering the army into a panicked run and mowing down everything in its path. The adventurers learn the turtle is nearly at the second line of defense, and they brace themselves because battle is about to erupt. The adventurers are all fired up, ready to throw down at last, thrilled to finally fight back and hit that monster where it hurts. The ghost turtle is closing in fast. They've run out of shells, the protective barrier is getting wrecked, and now comes the order: regroup, fast. The soldiers convince themselves it's all pointless. Sure, they'll crack and can't hold the front, then the coming end marches closer, dragging them straight into despair. They whip back to the commander, and he just grinds his teeth, refusing to back down. The man barks an order to attack, and the soldiers surge forward to obey. They charge the monster with everything they've got, fighting for their country, their comrades, their families, burning for what they love, even if it means paying with their own lives. A gigantic ghost turtle looms so monstrous that the soldiers look like nothing but tiny grains of sand against its shadow. Alexia raises her thanks to the brave warriors of this era, praising their courage and pride like they've truly earned it. She launches into the sky and tells the stunned soldiers face to face that none of them will die in this battle. The girl slams up a magical barrier, trapping the army behind a glowing dome like a shield made of pure protection. She launches into the attack on the monster, then snaps at the soldiers, yelling for them to retreat fast. Alexia shoots out a warning. This giant is already right on top of them. The ghost turtle is already here, and the girl snaps orders. Everyone runs right now. The soldiers can't even talk, frozen in shock and dread, while Noah locks his gaze on Alexia. The hero snaps his head toward the dream turtle. He swears that because of her, every soul in Kirshish is gone, and even Alexi's father is dead. The young man rips open a magical tornado and blasts the monster to pieces. The soldiers are left staring, baffled about where that tornado even came from, while Alexia and Fafnir lock eyes with Noah. The hero roars that the turtle is the reason Alexia is stranded, totally alone. The young fighter calls down the Stormblade. He charges that ghost turtle again, fists flying. Noah hammers the monster with blow after blow. Alexia can't wrap her head around it after that brutal attack. Not a single scratch, not even a mark, all because she fought back by tucking into her shell. The girls gape in disbelief as the turtle keeps taking hit after hit and somehow refuses to fall. Noah figures out that the dream turtle's shell can gulp up magic and then blast it right back. Alexia fires off a warning to the young man. Don't panic. That monster's firepower has a way to be beaten. But then she steps in and reveals she's the real nightmare to fight. The hero feels like quitting because everything is just the same as with that mithril golem. But Noah steps in saying the only thing left is to swap the dream turtle using the Book of Peace. He calls Alexia and Fafnir over and orders them to keep the dream turtle busy for a bit because he's got a plan, and it's going to take that thing down. The hero leans in and tells them straight up that he's going to be stuck, can't move for a while. They pull Noah in close and beg him to trust them. The young man leans in and thanks them with real gratitude. He kicks his plan into motion, and Alexia and Fafnir lock eyes with a quick, charged glance. The girl turns pale and asks Noah, shaking, if he's seen that magic attack coming from behind. Noah just grins and tells her he's totally fine. The young man turns to the two of them and demands they take control of the dream turtle. Noah senses that familiar figure closing in, and panic spikes because it's arriving at the absolute worst possible moment. His father slams the verdict down. This young man has to vanish right here, right now. The hero spots it instantly. His opponent's robe is laced with protective magic. He's stunned, blurts out that it's ancient, then admits it's completely outdated compared to the magic people use now. The boy barks an order to unleash the third level of flame, fire whip to stop the hero's assault. then commands the fire to twist into a whip and lash out just long enough to hold the enemy back. The boy yells at his father to stop. This isn't the time to strike, but his pleas hit nothing but deaf ears. His dad snaps that he doesn't care about the dream turtle or what happens to the kingdom's capital. The man snaps that he's got no time for them right now, and the hero cranks it up, unleashing pure, absolute flames only for the enemy to slam back with cold magic, carving an ice wall out of thin air. Noah blasts out a magic shot, slams it to block the enemy's strike, then unleashes absolute flame so far outside the compatibility rules that it feels impossible, shouts in awe at the heat, and powers his technique up to the 6th level of flame. The enemy snaps back with a brutal spell, Lava Meteor, trying to slam a devastating hit right into the ground. The mage jolts with shock at the hero's brutal strength, scoffing that he never thought such worthless talent could even match his power, then insists this force will never end up in the Oldheim family. He's freaking out if word gets out that the boy got expelled. It'll trash their reputation, and there's a real chance he'll get stripped of his title too, and he just cuts himself off without finishing the sentence. Realizing the truth, he pushes himself to stop it, because if he won't go back home, he'll erase not just the future, but Noah Aldeheim's entire existence. The son snaps to the enemy and through tangled emotions calls him father. Then he draws a hard line. He's not going back home, and he won't let himself be handled like something to be controlled. The protagonist leans in and makes it crystal clear he's already chosen his path, and now he's set on crushing the dream turtle. The boy admits he doesn't want to fight the enemy, but the moment won't let him stand down. He explains that this whole situation shoved him into a corner, and now that resolve hits even harder. The father clocks the hero's intense stare and blurts his son's name. Stunned, the enemy erupts in rage, calling the hero insolent for daring to address him as father. The son chokes out that it's already too late to fake being a father. His struggle leaks through every word, heavy with raw emotional tension. The father blurts in shock that he vanished, then realizes it's transference magic ripping him away. The black-haired man with a mustache clenches his jaw and declares, the hero's not getting away. He spits that the hero is just a brat. Noah squarely declares he's not running or hiding. He digs in with iron determination, ready to keep this confrontation going. The boy snaps with rage, demanding the hero stop clinging to him, and he hammers home the warning, let go or face the consequences. The father grabs the hero's attention, declares, I'm your real biological dad, and then looks stunned that his own son is actually planning to confront him. The protagonist lets out a heavy sigh, then steels himself and says goodbye to his father, pain and resolve crashing together. The girl leans in and asks how she's really doing, and the other character smirks confidently, saying everything's totally fine. They say Noah's name like it carries power, and right there the guy shoots an apology to everyone for the delay. Noah leans in with pure determination. We're ready to take on the dream turtle now. And right then the girl blurts out a question about his father. He blurts out that he doesn't have a father anymore. The heroine gasps in shock and blurts out that she's the one who's coming for you. The protagonist tells the two of them to hold the enemy's attention for a brief moment while he locks in the perfect defense plan and reveals exactly how to beat it. The whole crew nods and jumps in, and the way they move proves they're ready to finish the job no matter what. The mage is laser focused on getting as close to the dream turtle as he can, because that's the only way he'll pull off his goal, and everyone else jumps in, ready to help and ride along. Someone can't help but wonder if he can take the monster down solo until another character snaps back that folks like him don't just use monsters for power, they use them for their own end. The heroes tighten up and get ready to move, and one of them blurts, all right, dream turtle time, let's start the fight. Noah finally admits he should have handled the job himself, but now he gets it. Teamwork is the real power. And the others back him up, straight up promising they'll protect him no matter what. The boy finally gets how bad things really are, and he kicks into action, starting right away on a plan to flip the whole situation around. They say this is the headquarters right where they're trying to calm the dream turtle, but the girl snaps, what's going on up front? And then someone rushes in with the nightmare news. The second line of defense is already cracking, and they're breaking through. People whisper that a few insanely strong adventurers have stepped in and dragged the Gray's turtle's progress to a crawl. The girl with glasses swears the extraordinary adventurers are Noah and his crew. Then she boldly begs the whole army to back them up. The hero steals his resolve and swears he won't let the enemy crack the final line of defense. The leader snaps into action, calling out that the adventurers who came for reinforcements must be gathered now, and the S-rank squad has to take their battle positions fast while they bolster the defenses with magic tools. The hero stares at the text packed with weird symbols, and he jumps to the idea that they're encrypted, calling it the perfect defense. Sure, this case is totally unlike what happened with the Guardian Golan. The boy jumps at the chance to decode the message with his knack for cracking codes, and he insists he can finally understand what the text is saying. The young man decides that if he tweaks the Dream Turtle Shell passage, everything could change. Noah starts to wonder if he messed up when he swapped the text. The protagonist finally clicks he has to swap out every single symbol to crack the Dream Turtle's defenses. He tells you he lost countless hours in the library, cracking ancient codes until the secrets finally started to give way. The hero boldly announces he's ready to keep cracking those ancient grimoires, one secret at a time. The magician shrugs it off like it's nothing, then declares he'll crack every secret and decode it all. The girl snaps that he's nothing but trouble, fuming at how stubbornly he won't back off. The soldier shouts that the only way through is to smash the enemy where they're exposed, then throw every attack at that one open spot. The heroine blurts out, "I don't even know who I am," then snaps that right now their only hope, the girl with the horns, has to focus all the magical support on her. Because magic won't work on the Dream Turtle anyway, so don't be stingy. She swore the very people she'd battled as enemies still showed up to help her. The monster spits out his anger at being underestimated and admits the real truth: he'd been too soft. He keeps insisting it all comes down to the length of his imprisonment. At that moment, everyone knows there's no time to hesitate. Over appearances, the monster demands Noah's forgiveness. The enemy smirks and claims he's been dragged back into his evil form, and the soldier's jaw drops, screaming that it's impossible. Then he points to the corrupted disaster dragon, Fionir. Someone hisses a warning to the opponent: don't get swallowed by arrogance. Confidence is fine, but push it too far and you'll get burned. Two warriors lock eyes and rip into the situation. No more talking. Not now. They brag about the girl's insane abilities, and one of them straight up compares her to the legendary Fafnir Sublige. Even with everything stacked against him, he's still going to push through and do the coverage, while Fafnir squares off with the Dream Turtle, no matter how brutal the effort has to be. The girl's stomach drops as she clocks what he's doing. Noah's magic power is already trying to rewrite something, and she turns to Fafnir, begging forgiveness for everything she's about to be forced to endure. You can see the Book of Peace, a legendary weapon forged by the Rune King himself, said to wield supreme power and rewrite the very laws of this world. They say the book of the heritage of the Rune people somehow fell into the hands of someone who wasn't one of them. The enemy spits out his disappointment, convinced he wiped out every Rune person in the last war, while the girl instantly clocks that he's probably behind it again. The heroine yells at the enemy to back off and not touch Noah, but the monster snarls, demanding they leave because Noah's not letting them get their hands on the Rune people's book's power again. And he firmly insists that Noah gets dealt with right here, right now. The girl slams her decision down. She'll protect him no matter what, because she can't bear to lose anyone she loves again. The monster sneers that the Rune people never learn a thing, then asks, like it's baffling, why it's taking them so long to stand against him. And he tells them to team up with their allies, no hesitation. Just join the squad. The rival snarls that nobody is safe to face his darkness, because his power can't be met without consequences. The heroine's voice drops with worry, and she urges the young man to hurry up right now. The hero flips open book after book, hunting for answers and the perfect solution to the crisis staring him in the face. They say the bearded old man in the pointed hat clutching a staff is Archmage Lawrence, and the one in black, that's Siegfried, the pro who handles dragon problems. They say the loner Misa is hanging out with the king of beasts, Fenrir. So Misa straight up shrugs that as an elf, she doesn't care what happens in the royal capital. And Fenrir's wolfside snaps around and tells her, "Don't say that stuff so loud." She tells them she's an S-rank adventurer from Hackville, right next door to the Aleto Dukedom, where the guild sits, and she earned that rank solo, with nothing but her familiar backing her up. That sharp-eared character spots it instantly. This place is stacked with impressive personalities all under one roof. Then another girl steps up to steal the spotlight. Someone straight up asks Serena if she's the A-rank adventurer. The hero figures Noah and the others are probably already charging into the front lines, blades clashing as we speak. She says the task force is grinding day and night, and the girl adds that the future of the kingdom of Razde hinges completely on how things play out. The kid blurts out, "Highness Claudia," and the moment the girl spots her, surprise hits hard. She blurts out, "Thanks to Yuna for showing the way." He waves off the gratitude like it's nothing, saying there's no time to accept it right now. Yuna snaps that the Dream Turtle is about to smash through the final line of defense. She claims the front lines bought them seconds, but then she warns Claudia that the worst is coming and tells her to evacuate right now. Serena declares she's not going anywhere and points out that the people on the front lines are battling with everything they've got, so she tells herself and everyone else not to worry. The heroine tells him straight up, "I'm the king's representative. If I walk out, everything wobbles." Because the moment she leaves, the soldiers' morale is going to crash hard. She says, with total confidence, that the Dream Turtle is going down for sure and makes it crystal clear they're not losing. Even with the dragon screaming, the soldier can't deny it. The princess's heart doesn't budge for a second, not in this chaos, not for a roar, and he swears he'll stay by her side right up to the very end. The girl thanks him for backing her up, then worries sick she'll lose touch with Mr. Hildegard because he's been shipped to the front now. Her Highness Claudia lets out a hopeful sigh, praying that the man is doing fine now. The knight grabs Mr. Hildegard, orders his fellow soldier to chase the winged dragon right now, and with urgency. The man can't shake the question of why he's here, but the soldier grins and blurts that, "Thank the stars, he's alive." He says the poor gentleman got wounded during the operation to take down the Dream Turtle. The fighter swears it looks like he blacked out for only a split second, and somehow his body escaped with zero serious damage. The hero blurts out an apology for the mess, and the man snaps back that Mr. Hildegard is their biggest push. The man suddenly realizes he's missing something huge, and shock hits him so hard that weird, unsettling feelings crawl through his chest. The aristocrat spots a robe carved with ancient inscriptions, freezes in shock, and starts digging in his memory, trying to figure out where he's seen it before. He's convinced he's seen this robe before, but no matter how hard he tries to recall, a nasty headache and unease slam into him like something is crawling under his skin. The hero is dead, sure he has to uncover who owns this mantle, because knowing that name feels like the one key he can't afford to miss. Another character shoots the hero a worried, "You good?" And he snaps back, "Yeah, I am fine," admitting a small ache is creeping in behind his head, but insisting it's nothing serious. He shuts down the thought of his pounding headache and declares with iron certainty that he has to deal with the Dream Turtle ASAP. Then he makes up his mind. He's taking the winged dragon right away. Another character frets, warning that the hero hasn't fully bounced back from that injury yet. Mr. Hildegard digs in his heels, refuses to budge, and barks orders for the dragon to take flight, dismissing everyone's worries around him. The hero spots wild, powerful magic pulsing across the Dream Turtle's shell. The enemy sneers that the hero is just like the final rune representative and vows they're going to take him out. The man slams the 7th level of light to crush the evil that's trying to crawl into the world. The girl steps up to the hero and asks, "Are you okay?" Then freezes in shock when she realizes he never once sat down and sorted things out with his father. They confess that they'd met earlier right there in the royal capital. Noah's father snaps in fury at why she's here, orders her to step aside and leave everything to him, and she can't help but gape because Noah's father doesn't look anything like the man he used to be. She senses that he's become someone else, not the man she used to know, and though she thanks him for helping her, she can't shake one question. Did his attitude toward his son change too? The adventurer steps in and hammers the idea, "Let's team up whatever it takes to protect you." Mr. Hildegard whips around and demands, "So you're Noah, the one standing behind me?" She's shocked that he still doesn't recognize the guy because that's his own son, standing right there. Then the man gapes in disbelief, grabs his head, and groans that it hurts again. The hero tells her, "I don't have a father anymore," and the girl freezes, eyes wide with shock. She clocks Noah casting a memory wipe spell on his father and realizes he's trying to erase every trace of himself. So his father stays alive. The monster growls, calling what's happening a pathetic imitation, and the man and the girl realize the truth. This isn't just any beast. It's a darkness spirit that somehow lived through a direct hit from a 7th level spell. The heroine swears she's the real main villain, the one who summoned the dream turtle. And when she looks at the young man, she breaks with guilt, telling him she's truly, deeply sorry for what happened to him. The heroes throw caution aside, team up to challenge the spirit while the father finally decides to lend them his own strength. She flashes him a grateful smile and tells him straight up that once her memories are erased, they'll never come back. And he straight up admits he's lonely too, just like she is right now. The monster snaps back that numbers don't change a thing, and boom, there are two of them now. Mr. Hildegard demands, "Are you my son?" And then basically loses it, saying he's never heard anything more ridiculous in his entire life. He squints at it and realizes the name feels weirdly familiar. The hero hears the name and goes, "Wait, I know you," then shouts it like a shield to call protection. The man hurls fire magic like a weapon, snapping a level 7 wall of flames around himself to block every incoming attack. He clocks the protagonist, hacking away at the enemy's flawless defense, then dumps massive surges of magical power into the dream turtle to break the wall. People say the magician is in real danger right now. No protective magic at all, and it makes you wonder why nobody taught the hero the basic spells in the first place. The father snaps that he used the 3rd level of flame to forge a fire phantom purely to dupe the enemy, then hammers the point a weaker mage can't move without illusions, because what you're seeing is nothing but a fireborn deception. Mr. Hildegard snaps, "Why'd I miss again? And are you really a spirit of darkness?" The monster smirks and warns, "Because you're about to regret trying to trick me." The first character laughs that the darkness spirit's not exactly sharp, and the second one grins because that means they've got just a little time to breathe. The father grits his teeth, "You're burning way too much magic." And the girl steps in, offering to hand the power right to her own character. The man tells her she's right on the edge, then flat out admits he's got no choice, he has to do it. The character leans in and asks, "Do you seriously think you can break the dream turtle's perfect defense?" Mr. Hildegard leans in and warns her to stay on guard. The spirit of darkness is coming. He fires off questions about Reina, and the moment he looks closer, he realizes that the young man bears a striking resemblance to her. The adventurer's headache keeps roaring louder and louder, like it's about to split his skull wide open. The magician can't stop thinking about this guy and the other character too. The heroine grabs the moment and calls him out, shouting that his name is Hilda. She realizes he's crashed out at the table again, dead asleep like nothing in the world could wake him. The woman tells him she gets why grimoires hook him so hard, but she insists he has to know exactly when to shut it down. Reina tells the hero to crash in a real bed instead of dozing off at the table, warning that the kid they're about to have might copy that same habit. The man begged her for forgiveness, and people say he first met her at the Royal Academy of Magicians. The boy finally blurts out the truth. He was born a member of the magical aristocrats, the Aldeheims, and magic was his gift from the start. She blurts out that Reina's a commoner, yeah, but a gifted one because her insane diligence and pure excitement drive her straight to first place among everyone who enters the Academy of Magicians. The hero admitted that they used to fight all the time because he was an aristocrat, and he couldn't stand losing to her. Then he spills the truth she didn't get forced at all. She chose his challenges on her own, driven by a burning urge to bring down that high-ranking aristocrat. He swears they didn't hold back one bit in the clashes, but somehow, when the dust settled, their bond grew in a weirdly smooth, harmonious way. And before they could even regain control, feelings had already sparked between them. He claims their families and backgrounds didn't just disagree, they flat out shut the relationship down on both sides. Yet no one can command young hearts, so they fought for it and got married. The woman clocks what it is, and the persona snaps back that it's written right there in the grimoire. She tells you this book is the very first step into ice magic made, so beginners can dive in fast. Because this kind of magic is accessible to everyone. The aristocrat snaps that because he was born into the Aldeheim family, he owes the world at least that much, but even that won't be close to enough. The girl asks what he wants to be called, and the man admits he hasn't even thought of a name yet. The magician plops down at the table deep in thought, then grins and says, "This doesn't sound bad at all, because it fits a boy and a girl just right." The doctor slams the news the woman's in critical danger. If things don't turn around, he won't get to the end of her story. They say Romina was never truly healthy, and in the end, it was only a matter of time. The gentleman leans in and tells her to stay quiet, everything's okay. The man boasts that they've got an amazing doctor and midwives, promises he'll be there, then drops the bomb that he already picked a name Noah and asks, "So what's your name for the baby?" She lights up and says she loves the name Noah, then gushes that it's downright beautiful. Rain looks at the sky with a heavy heart, mourning that he won't get to see his baby boy's face the moment he's born. And then he turns to her to say sorry for all the trouble he keeps dragging into her life. They link hands tight, sparks flying as their love shows in every heartbeat. The girl leans in and blurts out that she loves him. Right after all that, Raina welcomed a beautiful baby boy into the world then. Tragically, she slipped out of it for good. He begs her not to leave, his nerves screaming that he can't handle being alone without her. He finally understands that he should have loved Noah the way he loved the late Raina and stepped up as the father Noah needed. But he can't deny it. Raina's death shattered him, wrecking his mind. The aristocrat locks eyes with the child and senses a mountain of magical power he's never felt before, and it leaves his mind shaken for good. The magician realizes she gave up her life so this child could be born, and suddenly his worth feels immeasurable. People say he shielded his own heart by pinning the blame for what happened on his beloved Antonoa. And even then he's convinced that this kid, thanks to his weird, one-of-a-kind magic, will grow up to become the most powerful magician the world has ever seen. 5 years after everyone realized his talent, it was still clear he never managed to finish his speech. He's crushed with grief and total disappointment, saying his dream got shattered in just one brutal hour. Mr. Hildegon finally cracks and admits the ugly truth: he tried to hurt his own child with Raina. He straight up declares with zero hesitation that he's the absolute worst father alive. The man stares into the past, replaying how he treated Noah, and finally understands some of what he did can never be undone. He whips around to his son, stunned and totally unsure, and the girl cuts in. Those white memories can't be brought back. A shadow darts across the room, chills the air with dread, and finally booms, "I found you after all." The monster demands, "Did you enjoy tricking me?" And the woman snaps to the others, warning them to stay sharp and steer clear of danger. She begs everyone to flee because with no magic power left, the pull of darkness is stronger than she can resist. The enemy lays out their reasoning, smugly betting that he'll actually cut them loose. The enemy screams that the Rune people are about to vanish for good, then snarls that nothing will ever change. The man stops and asks himself, "What am I even doing?" And doubts crash in fast, weighing heavy with fear and worry. He claims he left the girl to defend herself, then panics, staring at his own feet like, "Why am I running?" Mr. Hildegan can't stop wondering what to do next, and his confusion and indecision pile up like a heavy weight. The father can't stop picturing the moment his son opens his eyes, and what he'll see there, he realizes his whole attitude has been nothing but ignorance. And he can't help wondering what even an apology could do now. The hero flat out says, the smartest move is to vanish from this world. The spirit of darkness cackles and sneers that the Rune people are all fools. The monster leans in and offers a brutal deal hand over his son quietly, and it'll spare him. The heroine shot back with fearless confidence, saying the spirit of darkness wouldn't stand a chance of taking that guy over. The enemy sneers that even the Rune people's king can't break the dream turtle, no matter how he's inherited the Book of Peace, because the king himself never managed it. Then they slam down the demand surrender or face a so-called worthy punishment account. Another character grabs the moment and begs him, "Let me go." Shadow says his mind has to be wiped clean if he's still returned after something like that. And Mr. Hildegun steps in to tell the other character, Noah is safe. He tells everyone he slammed up the barrier to keep his son safe no matter what chaos came. He looks at himself and sees nothing but worthlessness. And then it hits him. He's the one who shattered his own son's life. The aristocrat snaps in shock and suddenly realizes his life has lost all meaning. He's convinced that if he runs from his problems again, everything will come roaring back, and then the hero finally snaps, admitting he never truly handled losing his wife, Raina, and blaming the pain on his son. The magician slams his fist down and declares that running away isn't even on the table because he's done pretending he can outrun his problems. For Raina, his late wife, he vows he has to love their son, Noah, and this time he refuses to let life slip away. The monster clocks that the hero looks off and then sneers, thinking there's zero point in even wasting time on someone so useless. Mr. Hildegan declares, loud and certain, that people still crown him as the most powerful fire mage in the entire world. He warns that any wicked spirit like him will turn to ash under his flames. Then the monster scoffs, calls it pure nonsense, and brings up Noah and Raina, begging for their forgiveness for what he did. And he makes it crystal clear whether Aldeheim's magical family is famous, whether their leader has authority, or if their magic is a hit or a flop. None of it matters to him anymore. He throws his call out across eternity and summons the fire spirits scattered everywhere to answer. The spirit leans in, daring the hero. Does he really think the spirit will hold off until he casts the spell? He straight up admits he got fooled by the exact same trick twice and then calls himself stupid for it. The hero whips around to face the ancient flame, then shouts for it to come to him and burn absolutely everything to ash. They reportedly fire off a 10th level flame limit meteor flame, trying to scorch the enemy out of the fight. He admits there's nothing he can do to stop that magic immune dream turtle, so he just takes everything it gives him. Noah's father tells him, "You'll have to keep going because I can't fight anymore." The girl beams at the hero's magic, calling it absolutely magnificent, and someone shoots back that even as a human, he still managed to pull it off. The monster just scoffs like, "Who'd ever guess I'd get dragged out and exposed by someone like you?" He realizes this is the first transformation in 100 years, and the creature laughs, telling him not to fear because it'll end his suffering in one bite. Someone races up to Alexia and apologizes, confessing he stayed way too long. The boy speaks up, and the moment he looks at the creature, he feels that same darkness's spirit staring back, the one he'd heard about in fear. He clocks it instantly. Now the dream turtle's protection is gone, and this is his golden chance to blast it with magic damage. The protagonist blurts out, "What's going on?" Surprise hits him like a wave, and he's packed with questions he wants to fire off, but he shuts them down because talking isn't the moment, right? Then the girl spots it. The dream turtle's shell has cracked. The young man snaps that Mr. Heldigan's supreme magic is finally kicking in and warns it's dangerous right here. So for now, they better shove off from the shell. They geared up to unleash a full-on counterattack against the dream turtle. The heroes spot the dream turtle's shell cracking and slowly disintegrating just in part for now, but it's clearly underway, and that means their best chance at success is still very real. One of the heroes leans in and declares that out of every adventurer on Earth, there's just one who can pull off something this impossible. The princess pushes the team to move right now, shouting that if winning is even within reach, they have to grab the moment immediately. That bearded grandpa in the hat, people are whispering he's actually the court archmage, Lawrence, and he fires off a third-tier lightning spell and blurts, "What was that?" The mage declares that magic has finally started messing with the dream turtle's dreams. She's telling everyone her resistance to magical attacks didn't just fade, it flipped. And now it's turning the magic back on her, doubling every hit she takes. The wizard keeps insisting he's never witnessed anything like this in his whole life, swears it's all true, and warns that you'll need to study your entire life. Then he spots a magical signal screaming for help. The protagonist insists that someone has to come right now to drag his father back. Noah finally admits he meant to cut every last tie with his father, yet he can't shake the question, how could that memory wipe still fail to stop him? The girl says her father was so sorry for how he treated him that he even apologized, and she thinks she just didn't catch everything he said. But before she can finish, the story cuts off. The boy says that when they wiped his father's memory, flashes of his dad's past still clawed through his mind, and then he admits he can't just forgive him for everything that came before. The boy tells everyone, her dad didn't just care, he truly, deeply loved her mom. One of the characters lays out his anger at how another person seemed insensitive, but then it hits him hard. The whole situation wasn't what he thought at all. The hero spills the story of how he got saved in a brutal moment, right when his magic finally ran dry, and admits that without his father stepping in, things could have turned dangerous fast. Noah steels himself, then decides to sit down with his dad and lay out exactly how this battle is going to end. The young man offers to treat Alexia's wounds, but she insists she's fine, yet her condition screams trouble, so he snaps at her to sit down. The monster is left stunned because Noah actually cracks the dream turtle's brutal, mind-bending defenses. One soldier yells, "Fafnir," and another knight snaps in fury, warning the commander that danger is closing in and that he might get himself hurt too. They say the girl is Mesa, the S-rank adventurer, with a cold, distant vibe, and that the wolf is Fenrir, the Beast King. The moment he realizes someone else is steering Fafnir, his fury spikes because it feels like the monster's been turned into somebody's pet. Misa can't shake the thought that maybe she's the only one who can control an S-rank monster, and she's dying to figure out who's really pulling the creature's strings. An adventurer can't believe it. This rampaging dragon actually bowed its head to someone, and he leans in and asks Fenrir, "Do you know him?" Fenrir just grins and admits, "Yeah, I've battled that beast plenty of times before." The dragon spots a familiar face and snaps, shocked. "Wait, is that the ice dog?" The wolf bursts out that it's incredible to see him again after all these years, then laughs and says he might even freeze the enemy, just for fun. Someone yells for everyone to lock in on the fight with the dream turtle right now and stay sharp, no distractions. The warriors are dead set on this. There's still time, so they're going to smash the enemy with everything they've got because his defense has already taken a huge hit. Magical deterrents are reportedly primed and waiting to strike. They spot the dream turtle frozen in place, and the girl snaps, "We're cutting them off one by one." They say even a tiny slowdown from the enemy counts as a massive win. The hero weakly insists that even the tiniest scratch matters because every bit of damage could be the key to winning. The knights shout at everyone to link up and pour everything they've got into one last push, right as they keep hammering the dream turtle. Long before the kingdom of Razdi was even founded right near where they stand now, this girl insists there once was a massive city-state. Una leans in and tells you the ancient city wasn't just any ruins, it was called Karchisha, and it was packed with an old people known as the Rune Tribe. The adventurer leans in and says, "Even now you can still stumble on shattered buildings around here, leftovers from the ancient city of Kirksis." The heroine points out the legendary Heavenly Tower, standing tall above the royal capital, stretching higher than anyone can believe. Just as the operation hits its final stretch, the soldiers get the order to retreat, and then the dream turtle smashes through the last line of defense. The dragon jolts in shock at the retreat order, then blurts out that someone must have skipped the strategy manual because how else could they think this makes sense? He gratefully tells Alexia, "Thank you for letting me carry out the plan." The princess grits her teeth and confirms they have to retreat now. They say that if he and Noah hadn't slipped into those ancient ruins, Alexia never would have crossed their path. Una's sure the kingdom of Razde would have been crushed. There's no way it could have held out against that giant monster that just ripped into their world. And she's quick to add, nothing happens by accident because every move is tied to what came before. The girl points out that even the dream turtle isn't safe from a drop like that, especially now that its defenses are already cracked. The dragon shrugs off the setbacks, charges right back into the fight, and boldly declares he'll take on whatever comes next. The heroines burst into shock and shout Fafnir's name right on the spot. The dragon leans in and whispers a goodbye to the dream turtle, and he realizes he's hit the end of his strength. Then he drops, helplessly falling. They just reported the enemy has stopped moving completely. The monster roars with pure disappointment and rage, saying, "Who would have guessed we'd topple the Sky Tower?" Then spits that he sank ages trying to resurrect it only to find it's nothing but a huge, pointless waste. He admits Noah's attack carved an incurable wound into him, and the horror hits hard. He's convinced there's no way things can end this tragically. The enemy corners the dream turtle and demands he hand over his body. The heroes go wide-eyed when they realize the creature has started moving again. The princess slams her fist down and orders every troop to fall back. She's declaring they're abandoning the kingdom's capital. Another fighter snaps in shock when they finally spot the princess, and the girl shoots back that if they keep fighting, they're only going to make everything spiral out of control. The young woman yells that this invasion won't just hit them, it'll crush every other resident too. Then she demands everyone evacuate as far from the capital as they possibly can. Misa realizes this is getting deadly serious, and she and the others start talking about how to protect the elf village if nothing changes, then someone spots it. This monster is already playing the part of a god or a demon lord. The enemy spits out a chilling claim. Humanity's world is filling up with darkness, and it's only getting worse. He says this is exactly what he's been chasing with everything he's got. Noah spots the spirit of darkness working alongside the dream turtle, and his shock hits hard because in his mind, he should have ended this by going straight for its shell. The protagonist cracks open the Book of Peace and uses it to slash the enemy's power. They realize the object is just gone, nothing shows up at all, and shock slams into them, followed by real worry. The girl blurts out that the power she's using isn't hers at all. It's the king of the Rune Tribes. She tells him he can't use it anymore. He doesn't have the access, not even close, because He's not part of the tribe. So his options are basically gone. And then the guy blurts out, "So what do I do?" The young man leans in and asks Alexia how he can boost his powers, and she just shakes her head because he inherited the book's power in the first place, is already nothing short of a miracle. The hero snaps that there's no other way he'll have to move without the book, and he tells her to stay right here. The adventurer blurts out that if he doesn't go, the kingdom's capital will be wiped out. Then Alexia snaps into shocked alarm, insisting that even he has a breaking point. He brings up his promise, "I won't die," and somehow that reminder steadies her, calming her down. She blurts out her feelings with raw intensity. She can't stand the thought of losing anyone else she loves, especially after what happened with her father's tragedy. And she claims she finally knows how to raise his accent. After her father's death, Alexia stared at the empty throne of Kirchish and realized the king's seat was still vacant, while she, the Rune tribe's princess, couldn't bring herself to finish the story. The girl thinks that the moment they marry, the throne will be handed to him. The girl's father leans in and tells her a kiss for the Rune tribe is a sacred gift, one that only goes to someone truly dear. She demands that Aldahima Noah grant the Rune tribe eternal protection. The heroine blurts out an apology for how fast everything exploded, then admits, "We just decided to get married right then and there." The protagonist's eyes widen as surprise hits him hard. Then he can't help but marvel at the insane power surging through his body. The girl reveals the hero can finally use the Book of Peace with zero limits, because ever since he became the Rin tribe's king, it works for him, even if she says it a bit clumsily. She declares, "With this power, we're winning for sure." The warriors feel it in their bones, danger is breathing down their necks. The monster launches a vector change, like reality just got rewritten in front of our eyes. One of the knights unleashes a power that heals him completely. No scars left behind. The NOAA pulls off a stealthy spatial jump, tossing everyone else into a whole different place. The creature realizes its way is slammed shut by another character, and pure determination surges through it as it commits to strike anyway. The enemy scoffs and says he never in a million years thought the Book of Peace would resurface through someone outside the Rune tribe. Then he laughs that this is even better, because he's going to deal with him and claim the Book of Peace's power. He breaks into laughter at the hero, taunting him straight to his face like, "Come on, fight me." The guy snaps his power on blinding light, slices through the darkness, and straight up blasts his attacker. Then decide to change the amount. He kicks into multiplication, whipping up a whole swarm of swords to slam the attack. Then the opponent just laughs it off, calling it a ridiculously entertaining childish prank. A battle-scarred warrior jabs his finger at something, and every other character's eyes snap to it. A glowing object whips into view above the dream turtle. As it battles it so hard the adventurers can't believe what they're seeing. The hero's freaking out over the magic vanishing, but the monster shrugs and says the book's power won't save him, because once there's no mana left, he can't do a single thing. Noah realizes the moment he tries to twist the world's rules with that book, the power it demands is way beyond what he needed before. He flips open the book and stumbles on proof of forbidden restoration magic, plus how to smash right through the upper limit of magical power. He's claiming he can completely change who he is. The girl and her opponent gasp in shock when they watch him completely take over the dream turtle. The young man swears that as long as he's got the Book of Peace in his grip, the spirit of darkness stands no chance. Then the creature snaps, "So what are you?" He doubts the hero's confidence, remembering how he once crushed the Rune King, two back when that monster wielded the Book of Peace. Word is the kingdom's capital has been swallowed by darkness, and everyone's suddenly on edge. The hero spots the pages turning darker and darker. The enemy brags that he soaked the world's core in darkness, and now, thanks to him, the book's power won't work for anyone. The enemy snarls that darkness will swallow everyone whole, and the heroes instantly panic. The knight's voice cracks with despair, and he bluntly declares that this situation is hopeless. Noah stares in horror as the book turns into black pages, and the shock hits him like a punch unease crawling in right after. He flips the pages and realizes the book isn't just black. He stares at the tiny symbols covering them, and that discovery hits him like a shock. The protagonist finally cracks and admits he's never run into something this wildly complex before, and confusion hits him so hard it's like his brain's glitching. The boy suddenly cracks the code. Those mysterious symbols on the pages of the Book of the World start making sense. He flashes back to his lonely childhood, where he honed the gift of deciphering And now that same talent is about to crack the world's book wide open. The monster thunders his victory, then erupts in pure, triumphant joy. The hero tells everyone that to stop the darkness from swallowing the world, he goes mysteriously silent. He declares he'll unleash his ultimate shield, the Dream Turtle. Then Noah shoots back, convinced the world is built from symbols, and the power of that book lets him conjure anything he imagines. The enemy gapes in disbelief. How is he still using the book's power? The hero fires back the Dream Turtle's shell, drinks in every kind of magic power. Noah adds that she fires that magical power right back. The guy smirks and says the dark spirit picked the wrong target because if anyone else had been standing there, the whole world would have already fallen under his control, just like he wanted. The creature reels in shock at what the man just did, totally baffled. How on earth can anyone resist him? The protagonist realizes everyone after the last battle has become someone else. Yet he looks in the mirror and knows he hasn't changed a bit. An adventurer lays it out from the past all the way to today. People have been handed knowledge through books, and even their feelings keep getting passed down, generation after generation until now, where everyone stands on top of all that hard-earned experience. He turns to the Book of Peace and gives it heartfelt thanks for backing him up. Noah slams the conversation to a close, says it's over, and turns straight toward the spirit of darkness.